The source is where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hard to believe, but Black Friday's here, and you know what that means. It's time for Black Friday money deals at UCCU.
There is an annual tradition now for Black Friday at UCCU where people look forward to, because unlike other Black Friday sales, Black Friday at UCCU is your chance to actually improve your finances.
Like a home equity loan with extra 0.25% off the intro rate, auto and RV loans with no payment for 90 days, low-rate credit cards with 0% interest for 6 months, and $150 cash just for signing up for direct deposit.
It's so easy, and that's just the beginning of Black Friday money deals. Keep going to uccu.com every week for new premium deals that will unlock, and they're things like cutting your auto loan rate in half to earning a higher interest rate on your savings. Enter each week for a chance to win these awesome prizes.
But you got to visit uccu.com every week. But if you come back and enter every time a new deal unlocks, you can win them all. So don't just enter once. Go every week, unlock every deal, and win big this Black Friday at UCCU.
UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
When I asked Scott Lucky if his last name had anything to do with his success in the trucking industry, he laughed and said, "Well, Mike, I guess you could say I've always been lucky." But when I asked him how he and his family grew Lucky Distribution Services into the company it is today, he didn't talk about luck at all. "We work hard," he said. "We keep a close eye on the bottom line, and we treat our people the right way." In other words, Scott Lucky makes his own luck, which is precisely why he switched to Pure Talk Business. "Last month, I paid the big guys $740 for 12 lines," he told me. "This month, I paid Pure Talk $420 for the exact same service." Thousands of businesses all over the country are saving real money by switching to America's most dependable 5G network, and luck has nothing to do with it. Just dial pound 250 and say micro. That's pound 250 micro to switch to a wireless company that works as hard as you do. Pure Talk.
The KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to My Hearing Centers Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
The end of the year is coming so fast. Your house needs to be ready for those big get-togethers. At 5 Star Painting, our service is hotter than a glowing red doorknob. From colors so smooth, rich, and inviting, to bold and bright enough to hit like a hot iron. Trust 20 years of experience, over 1,000 beaming reviews, and our 2-year warranty that sets us apart from all the others. Leave your guests thirsty for more. This year, let us swing the paint cans. 5starpainting.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. Back to you, Steve.
Got some wet roads out there and a couple of crashes on northbound 15 in the clearing stages in Salt Lake County. One at the point of the mountain, the other at 53rd South in Murray. Got the left shoulder blocked there. Plus a Weber County wreck on southbound I-15 at Riverdale Road. That's on the left. Expect delays at 24th Street in Ogden. And another crash northbound Bangerter at 114 South. There are 1,000 people homeless to remain unsheltered every night, sleeping on the streets. You can help by helping the Rescue Mission of Salt Lake restore lives. Visit rescuesaltlake.org. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
We've got rain off and on today, otherwise cloudy, a high of 52. Right now it's 43 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We've been able to follow the Utah Legislature's interim session, which has gone on this week for several days. And one of the things that's come out of that, or one of the things that's come out in conjunction with that, I should say, is a recent audit by the Legislative Auditor General. A position I wasn't even familiar with, but it makes sense that the legislature has its auditor. And it's created a report, Holly, that we're looking at here that has flagged 10 critical issues in Utah. And I suppose the timing of this is more than just coincidental, because these are issues that the legislature should be looking at when they have their general session coming up in January.
It is. And, one of the things, I guess, to know about this is that in 2023, the legislature actually codified creating this list as part of the regular legislative auditor's duties. And so one of the things that they look for is programs or operations that threaten public funds, are vulnerable to inefficiency, waste, fraud, abuse, or mismanagement, or that require transformation.
That list, when I looked at the 10 high-risk areas and I looked at that list, they didn't seem to coincide necessarily, because the top two high-risk areas in the legislative Auditor General has identified are water.
Yeah.
Utah's water needs and Utah's water infrastructure. You'd think those would be somewhat similar.
Yep.
But in terms of water needs, the Auditor General looks very closely at what's happening right now with the Great Salt Lake. And if you look outside right now, we don't have any snow on the hills.
Right.
Some resorts were planning to open this weekend. That's not happening. And you can't just create water. And so what you need to do is figure out ways to save the water, or at least funnel more water into the Great Salt Lake, because if the Great Salt Lake dries up, so does our economy probably here along the Wasatch Front.
It does. And, there's a couple of other things, too, that it's interesting. So they started in 2023 with 12 things on their list. This year they have 10, which means some of the ones that they first identified have gotten a little better, but they're still in the honorable mention. But you did mention the water needs and water infrastructure. I think they go hand in hand, right? And one of the things I've heard from people in municipal government is that they have to deal with these aging sewer pipes, and they have to deal with how they get water to the lakes or wherever their water is going from their community. And sometimes they've been in place for more than 50 years. Right. And some, you can only push the upkeep down the road so far, right, before you have to really get involved. And I know that there are dams in Utah, for example, that are aging and at risk of failure.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you've also got the apportionment that agriculture has received historically, and whether or not that's still necessary, because a lot of agricultural users are saying, look, we've had these shares, we've had these grandfathered for some time. We're entitled to this water, and we take priority over other things, which makes complete sense when you talking about agriculture. But you've also got to save water for drinking, for other things. So there's a real push here, push back one way or the other between use and saving water and what it can be used for going forward. A lot has happened with the Great Salt Lake over the last couple of years, and I have to hand it to the legislature. They've made this a critical issue. They've made this something that they address nearly every year. This legislative auditor general report seems to indicate that it's two of the top 10 issues facing our state this year.
One of the things that stood out to me is the education, so educational pathways specifically. And they say that they really need to look at pathways to, quote, high-yield programs, so that you have a better return on investment for education. But also that goes right in line with public workforce shortages, right, which is so interesting. And in their report, they actually say many of Utah's high-risk areas are increasingly interwoven. And you just mentioned the top two, and then we have educational pathways and public workforce shortages, but we also have transportation and housing affordability, energy policy. I mean, I think they do all kind of go together, right? We're talking about some issues related to growth in some ways, right? We talked yesterday about 2 million new Utahns within 40 years, and the key question we got from texters was, well, what about the water?
Right, and housing affordability.
And
those are two things that if you add 2 million people in Utah, even if it is over 40 years, and we go from 3.5 to 5.5 million residents over that period of time, so that's such a huge increase. We're already tight. We're already tight with water right now. We're tight with resources and tight with space. And housing prices right now are very high.
Yep.
We talked about that quite a bit yesterday. What does that do when you think in the next 40 years we have to build maybe 2 million more houses, or at least house 2 million more people?
That's right. That's right. And where do you go, especially when they think their growth is mostly going to be along the Wasatch Front and not really so much in rural Utah? So there's only so many places, right? But I thought this was really interesting that this is a high risk list about challenges, I guess, that Utah is currently facing and could continue to face.
One of the things that they've identified that's sort of timely in relation to the government shutdown is what they're calling state and federal revenue diversification, because when the government shutdown occurred, state resources were spread thin, and the government shutdowns seem to be occurring more and more. So maybe we need to plan for those better, at least have those part of our budget, or have something set aside, more of a rainy day fund, so that Utahns aren't without when the government shut down.
I know that the Utah legislature has a rainy day fund for emergencies, right? I also know that they have had a fair number of conversations over a number of years about how to be basically self-sufficient from the federal government, right? So I know with education funding, for example, most of our education funding is Utah. I think it's maybe 10% that comes from the federal government. But you also have, like we just found out, SNAP, for example, is completely federally funded. And there's not the ability for Utah to make up that $30 million a month shortfall, right? So I know that they have looked at it, and I can appreciate that there's still concern on the part of these legislative auditors.
We've only got about a minute left, but one of the other high-risk areas that was identified here that I'm not sure I understand completely is behavioral health. And what they're saying here, what the auditor is saying here, is there's insufficient behavioral health treatment capacity that needs to be addressed. We often talk about that, at least in my world, the criminal justice system, because we house our mentally ill and our high-risk individuals in prisons and jails because we don't have anything else, another place for them, and that's not working at all.
Well, interesting, yesterday too, they also had a presentation that said that people who are incarcerated are not getting adequate mental health services, right? That was a concern as well, that yes, it's a concern, and it's been part of the conversation on the homeless campus that is going to be built, it looks like. So that is an issue. Look, before we shift, I think we do need to mention that right now there is a funeral going on for Vice President Dick Cheney in Washington, D.C. So we know that former President Joe Biden is there. I'm trying to
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris is there. President Bush is there. Former President Bush. I think Vice President Mike Pence.
Yep, he's there.
He's there as well. So we'll keep an eye on that as well.
Interesting. Dick Cheney, not without his controversy, but certainly served our country.
He has. And so I think as we come back, we're going to continue to talk about this high-risk list, and we actually will talk with Utah's Legislative Auditor General. Stay with us over the break.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
This holiday season, give the gift of love that lasts a lifetime with Duke's Jewelers. For over 75 years, the Dukes family has been part of Utah Valley's story, helping yours celebrate life's most cherished moments since 1948. Dukes is more than a jewelry store. They're craftsmen, creating timeless pieces and custom designs that capture the magic of the holidays. Whether it's a sparkling necklace, a custom ring, or restoring a family heirloom, Duke's Jewelers pours their heart into every gift. Because jewelry isn't just about sparkle, it's about love and legacy. This Christmas, make your loved one feel like part of the Dukes family. Find the perfect gift at Duke's Jewelers, located at 220 South Main in Springville, or shop online at dukesjewelers.com. Duke's Jewelers, celebrating love and tradition since 1948.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With the Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Makita knows that pros never settle, and neither do we. With Makita, you get tools that perform at the highest level on every job without compromise. Makita is for the most detailed pros, expertly engineered to deliver precision, job after job. When your work calls for the best, call on Makita. Makita, built to be the best. Available at the Home Depot.
As the temperature sinks a little lower and the wind blows a little harder, next thing you know, the winter cold is going to be seeping in through your old drafty windows. So now's the time to call Advanced Window Products for custom-crafted, state-of-the-art windows that'll seal up your house and cut your heating bill. Get on their schedule before winter, and not only do you get factory direct pricing far below what the big-name companies charged, but Advanced will knock an extra $2,500 off your quote. They'll create beautiful double-pane windows with insulated frames, any style, any color, and the security features to keep your family safe. You'll get a lifetime warranty from a local company in business here for 39 years. Financing? 60 months, 0%. Or even buy now, pay later. So make the call. Seal up the house for winter with $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Call for a quote, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Gillette Services is putting $1,000 in your pocket with a rebate on new installations. Call 385-GET-HEAT for a free estimate. Gillette Services. Comfort now, pay later.
Inside Sources.
It's called the High Risk List Summary, and it's a report generated by the Office of Legislative Auditor General Cade Minchie, who is our Auditor General, identifying 10 high-risk areas. And this is a follow-up on an audit that was done, a similar list, in 2023. It identified 12 high-risk issues at the time. Not only did it address these 10 issues that we're dealing with now, but how we've dealt with the other 12 over the last several years.
So we have the Auditor General on the line. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks.
So I wonder, on this report, it looks like the top two things are Utah's water needs and Utah's water infrastructure. And I wonder if you could just talk to us about what it was in your assessment that put those at the very top.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to do that. Thank you. As we did a pretty expansive survey across the state as to the risks that we wanted to put into this report, we interviewed stakeholders and policymakers and citizens all across the state, and that's one that just frequently came up as absolutely necessary in order to ensure we get this right for the vitality of the state. So that's why we ranked number one. It was the most frequent thing we heard, and also based on our own assessment with data, it looked to us like this is something we got to really make sure we get dialed in right.
Kate, is the timing of this report's release more than coincidental that it came out while the legislature is in interim session? In part, maybe because these are some issues that they need to address when they meet in general session in January?
Yeah, Greg, that's a good insight. We released 6 audits this week, and we're going to release 4 in December, release a number in October. We do that all in preparation to get the information to the legislature before the general session. This one in particular, I'm glad you recognize that, is needed to help them with their policymaking duties and lawmaking duties during the session.
So talk to me about how far in the future are you looking? So you have these areas of recommendation. They even include behavioral health, right? And of course, housing affordability, education, et cetera. Are you looking at this as maybe things that need to be addressed in the next 5 years, next 10 years, or you're looking even further out than that?
Yeah, thanks for that. Great question. We're really looking out 20, 30 years, but we'd like to see progress before that. As some of these issues are going to be around for a while, and you mentioned some of them, behavioral health. That's been something that's been around for a while, but we see that need growing. We're making progress there in the sense that we're getting more providers, more resources, but unfortunately the need is outpacing that. And so we think that in the short term there's a lot that could be done, but we want to keep our eye down for at least 10, 20 years to make sure that we're measuring this and monitoring it and moving in the right direction.
Kate, can you help our listeners and myself understand the difference in the categories that we've already identified, numbers 1 and 2, Utah's water needs and Utah's water infrastructure? I suppose those are almost self-defining, but what is it about each of those that made them separate high-risk areas?
Yeah, thanks for that. As we looked into it, we were like, how do we get to this in a way that we can describe it and help people see, because there's a lot in this water space that we want to address. And one of the things with water needs, a lot of it is information. We've done several audits in this space, and the legislature is really desirous of making good policy and getting getting that right. We need good information. So a big part of that water needs is getting data. And the cool thing there is there's been a lot of work done. We're getting the right direction, but a lot of it's monitoring, knowing who's using the water, how much water is being used. Once we have that information, we can really dial in to make the best policy. That's kind of where that water needs is. On the infrastructure side, we have some infrastructure projects, and some of that deals with we have them high hazard dams on the list as well. We just want to make sure that we don't get too far behind with that. We've seen that in other states. If you get too far behind on your infrastructure and your dams, what can happen is catastrophe can happen, but just besides that, you can get to the point where you're just not able to deliver water in a reliable way.
So let me ask you about are you looking at both the Great Salt Lake and, for example, the water usage? And I keep seeing agriculture, right? Is that part of this whole overall conversation about Utah's water needs?
Yeah. So when we look at agriculture water, there's been a lot of great work done in that area. And that's where we're talking about some of where the information can come of how that water is being used. We've seen some really promising policy done in that area. And so what we want to do, and what, as we've talked with farmers and ranchers, they're fully in line with this, is we just want to optimize that water to the fullest way. So there's been a lot of effort. There's been a lot of funding given in that space so that we can use that water in agriculture the most efficient, effective way. When we do that, of course, it benefits the entire system, the streams, the rivers, the lakes, the whole thing. And so there's been a really good emphasis, and we've seen some great process there. There's a lot more work that can be done.
Kate, let me ask you about another area that you addressed here in your high-risk areas, and that's Utah's energy policy. Our governor gave a press conference earlier this week about setting up some nuclear capabilities in the Box Elder County, Brigham City area, seemingly on top of what you're addressing here. But is this something that Utah's maybe a little bit behind the 8 ball right now? We're not on top of this as well as we should be?
Yeah, that was our assessment in an audit we did a couple of years ago, and we're carrying that forward here in this report. The last year or two, we've seen a really good movement in this area, and we're really pleased with the governor, the legislature, and the leadership there. But when we looked at this, going back a few years, and again, as we said, carrying forward to today, we found that our state was behind with some other states when it came to planning, strategy, and looking forward. we were doing a lot of projects, but there just wasn't the coordination that we wanted, and there really wasn't the vision as to how we wanted this going forward. Like you just mentioned, Governor Cox has done a lot of good leadership on this, and we see it moving in the right direction. But it was still a risk to us because we still see that there needs to be more work done, and we need to have greater strategy and vision in this area in order to really get to where we want to be.
So it struck me, Cade, as and we're speaking with Legislative Auditor General Cade Minchie, but it struck me as I looked at these top 10 how much overlap there is, right? So you have water, but you also have housing, transportation, energy policy, which I think those all go together, and then you have education and workforce shortages. Just what are you seeing as you're looking at maybe the Venn diagram of these 10 high-risk areas?
Great insight, Holly. Thanks for bringing that up. This is something that we're seeing more and more. We've been, as we go and do our audits across the state, we've actually been trying to do this coordination effort that you're talking about. We call it like a capstone. So we see there's so many issues. Just an example of that is in criminal justice. There's so many different entities working on that, but those individuals that are serving the criminal justice space are also individuals in the health and human service space quite often, not always, but quite often, also in homeless space. And so what you see here is so many of these issues overlapping. As you talk about with education and how that relates to workforce needs, how that relates to cybersecurity and energy policy and data privacy, there's so many connections here. It would be a good effort, and maybe that's a good thought for us to do in the future to try to put together a diagram of how these all connect, but certainly they are interconnected.
Yeah, and I think it was really also timely, Cade, because we had a report yesterday from the Kempsey Gardner Institute, and I know 40 years down the road is a long ways away, that Utah's going to add 2 million people to our population. So, I mean, these high-risk areas are things we can't wait to jump on if, in fact, those numbers are accurate. Isn't that right?
Well said. Yeah, well said, Greg. I appreciate that. That's a lot of why we started this a couple of years ago. As I worked with legislative leadership, how can we utilize the resources of our office in the best and most effective way? One of the things we looked at is being what I call the fence at the top of the hill, other than always the ambulance at the bottom. Yeah, there's times we need to go in and help clean up some things that happen in the state of Utah. For sure, that's a need. But where can we divert some resources to be the fence at the top of the hill? And it's well said how you put it. Looking at how this state's going to grow, this to me is sort of what I call a vitality test. We need to make sure that we're working on these areas in order to ensure that our state continues to be prosperous. We are right now. We're very pleased with how the state is being managed. We're recognized as either the best or one of the best managed states in the country. When I go and talk to my colleagues across the country, other legislative auditors, they're always so impressed with what we're doing here in Utah. But this effort that we did here today is making sure we keep our eye on the ball, making sure the data, the information is present and available, and making sure that we can measure how we're moving forward in a positive way. So we're really pleased with this effort, and we're pleased with the effort that everyone's doing to move it forward.
And we're impressed and pleased, Cade, with the report that you did. Thank you for joining us this morning. That
Thank
was
you.
Auditor General Cade Minchie talking about a high-risk list that the legislatures got to deal with in the near future. And this is a really good report if you have a minute to look at it. When we come back, Utah is one of the states that helped remove a provision from the One Big Beautiful Bill that would have prevented states from regulating artificial intelligence. Well, now President Trump is drafting an executive order to sue states that pass such regulations. We'll talk about that when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, an Ogden store selling raw milk was vandalized this week. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
Raw milk has been a hot topic in recent years, with more people pushing for all natural products and others arguing that it's not safe. But the Milk Barn Creamery has been in business for over a decade. The graffiti on the outside of the windows had expletives about the milk sold there and RFK approved written across the front. That, of course, references Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, a known raw milk advocate. They posted about the graffiti on Facebook, saying they know their product isn't for everyone, and that's okay. But this is not the way to start a conversation. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
A southern Utah man will spend 8 years in federal prison, convicted of defrauding investors of more than $23 million over 8 years. Thomas Madden pleaded guilty in June to wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. In addition to prison time, he's ordered to pay nearly $14 million in restitution. Our top national story this hour, a U.S. delegation is in Ukraine after proposing a peace deal that they believe could end the war. But Ukrainian officials are not happy with the terms of the proposal.
Some of the proposals that have been shared with ABC News include cutting the Ukrainian army, Russia keeping the territory it's occupied in the war, and a demilitarized buffer zone. But Ukrainian officials slamming the U.S. plan as simply a Russian idea, with Putin not being asked to make any concessions. Capitulation, they say.
ABC's Ian Pannell reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 302 right now. That's about 0.7%. We're at 46,441. Coming up, we've got some rain today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hello, car donation hotline.
Hi, I'd like to donate a car to the Utah Kidney Foundation. Are you in Utah?
Awesome. Let's get some info and we'll send you a tow truck.
But I want my car donation to benefit my neighbor in Farmington who needs a transplant. Are you in Utah?
That's a no. I'm in SoCal, but you're still donating to charity.
What charity?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, I want my donation to stay in Utah.
Righteous dude. You need to call Tow Cars in Utah. Locals only, am I right?
Oh, yeah. I remember tow cars with a K like kidney. It's on a billboard somewhere. TOWKARS.org. That's it. Towcars.org.
If you'd like your vehicle donation to help Utah kidney patients in the Beehive State, please use the web address on their billboard, towcars.org, to donate your old car or truck. That's TOWK like kidney, ARS. Towcars.org.
You know what? I think the holidays are the worst time of year for your furnace to go out. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and every November it feels like people get extra stressed when faced with the need to replace their furnace. The money they've been saving is supposed to go to Christmas, and now they're faced with a choice: Christmas or comfort. This holiday season, Any Hour Services wants to help alleviate some of that stress with our special holiday financing. No money down and no payments until next year. Plus, if you schedule a free estimate before the end of November, Any Hour Services will give you $2,500 off any full system you buy. And that doesn't even factor in the rebates and incentives you might qualify for. Again, during the month of November, Any Hour Services will give you $2,500 off any furnace and air conditioner you buy. And you can take advantage of our special holiday financing with no money down and no payments until next year. For more details, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
There's no place like home, but home ownership is slipping away in Utah. And young Utahns are being priced out of their own communities. The U.S. economy is built on the idea that 30% of your income should go towards housing. But in Utah, families are spending nearly 66% just to keep a roof overhead. On top of that, the average homeowner in Utah has nearly $400,000 in net worth. For renters, it's barely $10,000. And with Utah already on track to be short more than 153,000 homes by 2030, that gap is only growing. Every community in Utah plays a part in finding solutions. More homes mean more opportunity for teachers, nurses, police officers, and every family that makes Utah what it is. Learn more about Utah's housing shortage and what we can do to begin to fix it at demandmoresupply.com. That's demandmoresupply.com. Make your voice heard right now. Log on to demandmoresupply.com. demandmoresupply.com. Together, we can keep families close.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. And here's Steve Carlson.
Northbound 15 mostly rolling along at good speeds through the Salt Lake Valley, but still thick in spots between Midvale and Murray. Up in Weber County, southbound I-15 really bogged down, sluggish and slow. Riverdale to Roy, you only have 2 lanes of traffic there. We had an earlier crash through that stretch, which has cleared. And if you're headed to Logan, watch for pockets of dense fog in the Cache Valley with visibility under a quarter mile in spots. Got that dense fog advisory through 10 a.m. Tax problems keeping you up at night? Get the IRS off your back. Let Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox stop IRS harassment now. Visit ntaxworry.com. That's ntaxworry.com. Steve Carlson at the KSL Traffic Center.
Cloudy and rainy today with a high of 52. Right now, it's 45 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
It's not uncommon when you're listening to the news or watching progress that's going on right now in our country that artificial intelligence and the regulation of artificial intelligence is a big topic for people and how we deal with that. If you recall, the One Big Beautiful Bill had a provision that Utah actually removed that would have prevented states from regulating AI. Utah has legislation that allows them to do that, I believe, right now. Well, President Trump is drafting an executive order to sue states that pass such regulations, which I think is almost a 180-degree flip from where they were when the One Big Beautiful Bill was passed in the first place.
Well, it was President Trump who did want that federal regulation. What they wanted is basically only the federal government could regulate AI for a decade, and then that
that's right.
provision
That's
was
exactly
taken out.
Right. Yes.
So what's interesting to me is many or most of the states that want to be able to regulate it on their own, like Utah, are red states. So I'm a little bit confused as to why the president would instruct the DOJ to sue those states.
Well, let's get to our expert, our resident expert on the issue. This is Representative Doug Fiafia. Doug, thanks for joining us this morning.
No, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Were you surprised by this announcement by President Trump that he's drafting this executive order?
Not an announcement quite yet.
Okay. Well,
not surprised. Not surprised at all. This has been a battle that we've fought since the summer, July, when it was trying to be kind of snuck into, or I guess put into the One Big Beautiful Bill, and you saw states, both red and blue, come together arm in arm to fight this. This is a state's issue. We have the ability to adapt and change, and AI is moving at such a fast pace that it's scary that we will have no ability with this executive order, or if this is put into any type of legislation, to protect our children, to protect our citizens here in Utah. And so not a surprise, but this is a huge worry on our end. And look, I understand where the president and maybe some of our congressional leadership is coming from is, yeah, we are in an arms race when it comes to AI with China and some other countries, but that doesn't mean that we can't also set up some guardrails to protect our families and protect our citizens.
Right. I'm wondering, Representative, if you can help us better understand where the disconnect seems to be between federal regulation and state regulation. First of all, why can't we have both? And second of all, why does the president seem to be so opposed to states being able to regulate?
Sure. I think most states and most legislators on the state level would love some guidance and some guidelines. The reality is, as we know, in Congress, they move slow and they don't have the ability to pass, this type of regulation that will protect individuals, our most vulnerable populations, our seniors, our children. And so that's where we have an issue as states is, if you're not going to do the job, then we need to step in. And to your second question, I think it's this whole idea that we can't regulate at all because we can't stifle innovation. And I think the approach that Utah has taken has been targeted and has gone at AI regulation with the scalpel. We haven't passed these large, comprehensive bills that are stifling innovation. We've found a way to thread the needle between promoting innovation while also protecting consumers. And if you look at the bills that we've passed previously and the bills that are being proposed this next session, they really are at the heart of the issue and not trying to stifle innovation.
Doug, is part of your concern for state regulation, the fact that the feds just haven't stood up to the plate, that Congress hasn't done enough yet? Or is it that states ought to be able to sort of customize and design what's right for their particular state, which may be different in different states?
I think a little bit of both. We're strong believers in federalism and believe that states have rights. We believe in the 10th Amendment, and this is a state issue. And I think to your second point that, yeah, everyone has a little bit of a different flavor of what they want in their states, and we have to be able to adapt and change based on Utahns and the Utah values. And I think we found that. Most businesses that I talk to, small tech, medium tech, they're excited to come to Utah because they know the regulations around AI and technology. There's some other states that don't want to go into because they have no idea where regulations are. And so I think the way that we've approached this is we want the ability to act and react. We don't know what's coming, but there are some serious threats out there. When we talk about AI companions, when I say AI companions, this is AI specifically designed to mimic relationships, intimacy, romance. We're seeing our kids engaged in this. We're seeing our seniors engaged in this, and that's not what AI should be doing. AI should be making us more efficient, more effective, and helping us, not working against us. And my fear is that if Congress puts this into place, or if the president puts this into place, we will have our hands tied and no one will be able to put any type of regulation, because we've seen that Congress doesn't have the ability to act and pass something across the line.
I wonder what it would look like if the DOJ came to try to sue Utah. I mean, I'm assuming that Utah would have a legal response saying, no, we're justified in this. Do you feel threatened as a representative hearing that the DOJ may come sue if you put regulations in place?
Me personally, no. I have committed to serve my constituents and serve the people of Utah, and their safety is of the utmost importance. And so if there is a threat that the DOJ will come after us, I think we would like to err on the side of protecting our citizens versus kind of the political games that might be played here. And so I would say I feel no threat at all. I think what we're doing here in Utah is a balanced approach. We've seen other states like Florida also have a balanced approach. I think what we're doing is going about this the right way. And we've heard signals from our leadership, from our federal delegation, that Utah is going the right way, and we are good partners with the White House and with Congress. And so I don't see Utah being the target of this. Maybe some other states who have kind of looked at the more comprehensive, big, stifling innovation bills. But again, I think the way that Utah has done this is the way that Congress and the White House hopes that other states follow.
Thank you so much for joining us. That was Representative Doug Viafia, an expert in AI, talking about a potential executive order to sue states that regulate AI. Look, we're just coming off some massive delays in air travel and heading into the busiest travel weekend of the year next week. And the U.S. Transportation Secretary has some advice. It's pretty simple.
Be nice.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you want to walk, play pickleball, and enjoy other fun activities to stay healthy, but you can't because of bad feet? Hi, this is Mike, and the Good Feet store wants to help.
I just had difficulty walking. I tried them on in the store, and my foot felt so much better.
Do you keep buying new shoes and inserts with little or no relief?
I tried all kinds of shoes. It was the arch supports that made the difference from the Good Feet store.
Don't let bad feet, knees, or back problems get in the way of staying healthy and having fun.
Thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm bowling 3 nights a week.
Get back to doing what you love. At the Good Feet store, we'll personally fit you at high-quality arch supports to maximize your comfort. Stop in the Good Feet store or book your free fitting at goodfeet.com. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers. but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With the Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Utah can count on.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Way back in 1989, I started servicing hot tubs in Park City, and I learned the hard way in the freezing winter in the mountains that hot tubs are not built for Utah's harsh climate. I then found the Arctic Spa, the most northern manufacturer of hot tubs built specifically for the northern climates. Arctic Spas use perimeter insulation similar to your house where the outside walls are insulated. This allows us to utilize the excess heat from the motors to help heat the water and reduce your electric cost each month. Since then, we have sold 10,000 Arctic Spas here in Utah. We've learned that Arctic Spas last longer because they are built stronger. You can just feel the difference. Arctic Spas are easier to fix because we put access panels all the way around the spa, which makes it less expensive for you. Add this to the lower electric bills each month, and you end up with the least expensive hot tub to own over the long term. Arctic Spas, with stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George, or online at arcticspasutah.com. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
Did you work in uranium before 1990? Then you need to know that RECA is back. You may now qualify for compensation of $100,000. We provide the best in-home care for former energy workers. CNS Cares can guide you to the resources you need to file a claim. Call CNS Cares to find out if you are eligible. Let's make sure you get all the care and support you deserve. Call 855-CNS-RECA today.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared.
Prevent your child's next asthma attack. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many. Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
Shop smart at Restore. Amazing deals on furniture, appliances, and more. Reduce waste and help families achieve home ownership. Visit restore.habitatsaltlake.org. Savings, sustainability, and community impact in one stop.
An expanded Inside Sources.
Right now, former President George W. Bush is speaking at Vice President Dick Cheney's funeral. We're going to dip into that for just a second.
Who shared in his journey. As I quickly discovered in 2000, when you choose one Cheney, you get four. His busy and purposeful life was an adventure they experienced together. In a family so close, you dread the day when the circle is broken. Lynn and the girls, Heather, Phil, and all the grandchildren, he sure loved you all, and he was proud of his family. I hope it helps to know that many people in this country share your sense of loss, and we're here today as your friends. 25 years ago, I had a big choice to make, a big job to fill. I want to know all my options, so I enlisted the help of a distinguished former White House Chief of Staff and Secretary of Defense to lead my search for running mate. Dick Cheney and I went through the files name by name. We talked over the various qualities I was looking for in a vice president: preparedness, mature judgment, rectitude, and loyalty. Above all, I wanted someone with the ability to step into the presidency without getting distracted by the ambition to seek it. After weeks of these meetings, I began to have a thought I could not shake. I realized the best choice for the vice president was the man sitting right in front of me, and I told him that. At such a moment, most in his position would have jumped at the chance, but Dick stayed detached, and he analyzed it. Before I made my decision, he insisted on giving me a complete rundown of all the reasons I should not choose him. He also heard one of my top advisors was against the choice, so Dick invited him to make the case. As he did so, he sat there unfazed and expressionless. In the end, I trusted my judgment. I remember my dad's words when I told him what I was planning. He said, "Son, you couldn't pick a better man." The way this all unfolded followed a pattern in Dick Cheney's life. Summing up his career a few years ago, he said, "A few breaks came my way, and one job always led to another, and in a life that's taken me far to more places than I ever expected." That was Dick's typically understated version of events, but there's a little more to the story. His abilities were self-evident without need of calculation or self-promotion. His talent and restraint exceeded his ego. Even before the Cheney name reached the national stage, people always saw something in the man, solid, reliable, and rare. One of the first to really notice was Lynn Vincent. She can recall a time in their college years when Dick, as he freely admitted, lacked direction and needed some straightening out. I think we had that in common. That was Lynn's kind of project, and it did not take her long. He said many times that his life would have turned out a whole lot different if he had never met her. It may explain how in just over a decade, a guy can go from laying transmission lines outside Cheyenne to serving as chief of staff of the President of the United States. In Dick's telling, those years working for Gerald Ford were special and formative. He cherished the association, and the high regard went both ways. In his memoir, President Ford described Dick's steadiness, his low-key style, and his absolute loyalty. I know exactly what he meant. These are not traits easy to come by in Washington. Being calm, reticent, undramatic, and untrustworthy are not everyone's formula for success in politics. But they were the Cheney way, and they worked. I'm reminded of a renowned senator who once gave this advice to a junior colleague. Perhaps he said you could occasionally allow yourself the luxury of an unexpressed thought. Dick Cheney was like that, sparing and measured with words. In a profession that attracts talkers, he was a thinker and a listener. And when he did speak up, conveying thoughts in that even tone of voice, that orderly, unexcitable manner, you knew you were getting the best of a highly disciplined mind. No colleague, no legislator, no foreign leader who ever met Dick Cheney ever doubted that they were dealing with a serious man. Of course, not every political counselor is cut out to be a political candidate. But Dick Cheney put himself to the test and never lost an election. In fact, it happens that he and I both ran for Congress in 1978. And let me just say the Republican wave didn't reach West Texas that year. He told me a few times what it's like to campaign in Wyoming. Lots of small gatherings and long drives. It's easy to imagine the impression that young Dick Cheney made when he was asking for the vote. I wish more Americans got to know Dick Cheney the way the folks in Casper, Cody, and Laramie got to know him. Smart and polished, without airs. Courteous and approachable, seeing everyone as an equal, a gentleman by nature, and a true man of the West. Dick was funny and easygoing in a style that his public image never caught up with. Though we can all agree he wasn't your standard issue politician. If any voters came hoping for a kind word and a hug, they'd have to settle for the kind word. But you can't question the appeal of the only person from America's Mountain West ever elected to national office. On that score, history should record that I chose my vice president not once, but twice. In 2004, he offered to step aside in case I wanted to replace him. I thought about it for a while, but after 4 years of seeing how he treated people, how he carried responsibility, how he handled pressure and took the hits, I arrived back at the conclusion that they do not come any better than Dick Cheney. Colleagues from every chapter of his career will tell you that he lifted the standards of those around him just by being who he was, so focused and so capable. In our years in office together, on the quiet days and on the hardest ones, he was everything a president should expect in a second in command. In moments of testing, Dick Cheney was the model of concentration, alertness, and composure. His memoir was titled My Time. His time produced an old breed of public servant, defined by their substance and character. This was a vice president totally devoted to protecting the United States and its interests. There was never any agenda or angle beyond that. You did not know Dick Cheney unless you understood his greatest concerns and ambitions were for his country. Across 40 years, his service was consistent, faithful, and noble. All in all, not a bad showing for a career and a life, especially when you consider his sheer physical endurance. As Dr. Rayner pointed out, he became an authority on cardiovascular disease and a marvel at what resourceful doctors and one very determined patient can accomplish. Dick had faced down fears and hardships, but he really didn't speak about them. The reward was more of a life than he ever expected, including 7 grandchildren to complete the picture. One of them, Richard, even asked his grandfather to attend kindergarten class for a show and tell. I wish I'd have been there. As a matter of fact, the teacher told Dick that was the most exciting show and tell since the morning a little girl brought her cow to class. That might have been amongst Dick's last moments in the spotlight. In his final years, he was content to go his way. At a rare public appearance in 2022, he offered a kind of parting reflection. He said, when you can look back on a lifetime in politics and government, and what you value most are the friendships, then I guess you've done all right. A lot of us know that feeling as we say an affectionate farewell to the 46th Vice President of the United States. It's something to be cherished when a man of his caliber has been your colleague and friend. This son of Wyoming, son of Marjorie and Richard Cheney of Casper, went far in this world and in our own lives left a very fine mark. We are grateful for his good life, we honor his service, and we pray that somewhere up the trail we will meet him again.
That was former President Bush speaking at the services for his former Vice President, Dick Cheney, who served with him for 2 terms. That funeral is ongoing. We'll take a break now, and we'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. The government released the September jobs report this morning, which was delayed by 6 weeks because of the government shutdown. Zions Bank senior economist Robert Spenlove says 119,000 jobs were created, but the unemployment rate ticked up to 4.4%.
Even though this is really old data, it's the best we're going to get before the Fed meeting. And so that there's just this uncertainty and economic fog that's weighing over the economy right now.
Spenlove says we will never get the October jobs numbers because the researchers were all furloughed when the data was supposed to be collected. The Fed makes their next interest rate decision on December 10th. A southern Utah man will spend 8 years in federal prison, convicted of defrauding investors of more than $23 million over 8 years. Thomas Madden pleaded guilty in June to wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. In addition to prison time, he is ordered to pay nearly $14 million in restitution. Our top national story now from ABC News. The memorial service for former Vice President Dick Cheney has been taking place over the past hour at the Washington National Cathedral. Speakers included former Presidents George W. Bush and Joe Biden. Cheney died earlier this month from complications from pneumonia at age 84. Your money at this moment, the Dow has turned down now. It's down 51 points. We're at 46,080. Coming up, a few more rain showers moving through today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Pros don't just show up. They prove how it's done, with precision and without shortcuts. Makita tools are built the same way, with a dedication to lasting quality, trusted performance, and results that reward your effort year after year. When the job calls for the best, call on Makita. Built to be the best. Available at the Home Depot.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions and bring you a special Black Friday offer.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio. And now, as a special Black Friday offer, you can get a free gutter inspection, plus up to 35% off. This is our best offer of the season. Unlock it now at leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. And here's Steve Carlson.
Well, north and southbound I-15 rolling crash-free between Utah Lake and Willard Bay. Got full speeds for the most part. Some scattered orange barrels in spots in Weber County to slow you down just a bit. Also an easy drive on the belt routes. The 201 looks good. Same for I-80 through Parleys and out west into Tooele County. Don't miss the Rocky Mountain Gun Show November 22nd and 23rd at the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Get 500 rounds of 9mm ammo for just $85. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
We should see a high today of 52 with some scattered showers passing through. Then we mostly dry out for the rest of the weekend with a high on Sunday of 50 degrees. Right now it's 46 degrees and cloudy. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We're going to be keeping an eye on the funeral of former Vice President Dick Cheney. We heard from former President Bush, who spoke just a few moments ago. They went to a Navy band, and now we're hearing from some of his apparent maybe grandchildren. We may break away to that again, but I want to talk about something that's come up recently in light of the government shutdown and how we dealt with that. And we're coming off some massive delays in air travel, heading now into, Holly, the busiest travel weekend of the year. Presumably, that's what Thanksgiving is normally known as. And the U.S. Transportation Secretary has some advice. You said it before the break earlier. Be nice. On ABC's Start Here podcast, host Brad Milkey set up a public service announcement from the Department of Transportation asking plane passengers to do just that.
Yesterday, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy put out a new video harkening back to the so-called golden days of travel. Like, remember what riding a plane used to be like?
You wave goodbye to your less fortunate stay-at-home friend.
This was a real ad for United back in the 1950s.
An individual table is set up to receive your tray. And soon you're enjoying a delicious luncheon.
You would go on board and have a literal buffet put out with cold cuts on it, full-on powder rooms. Customers are wearing suits and ties, tucking into their prime rib dinners, while the flight attendants go around asking if you want ice with your cigarettes or whatever you did back then. Well, Duffy's video cuts from scenes like that to scenes like this.
These people have an attitude problem. They don't their job.
There are videos of fights on board, people abusing airport staff, passengers using bare feet to navigate their touchscreens. Yuck! Experiences that seem way too common nowadays.
Do you think there's any correlation between the food that was being served with the charcuterie board, and now you get a bag of chips?
You get a bag of peanuts,
right? Yeah, and asking plane passengers to be polite. Probably not.
Look, I want to hear from our texters and our listeners. Do you have any air travel horror stories? 57500. So that little clip mentioned somebody using their bare feet on the touch screen. Caitlin, our producer, saw somebody propping their feet up on the plane, bare feet. Me too, right? If you sit in the window seat, it feels like there's always somebody like trying to stick their feet beside you, which is really kind of gross.
Yeah, or pushing. You can always feel them pushing on the back of your
chair
seat as they're trying to get more comfortable.
I had a terrible experience once traveling. It was our first adoption trip, actually, and I was going to Romania, and the seats recline, right? It's this long trip. And there was an older woman behind me who kicked it the entire time, like literally just kicked me in the back over and over and over. And it's been more than 30 years. I don't recline my seat when I ride in the airplane. I just don't do it anymore.
Oh, really? I'll tell you that an irony for me. When I was younger, it used to drive me nuts when people would have their crying children on an airplane. And then I had children.
Yeah.
And now
exactly.
I am so... I think I am very patient. If somebody's got a crying kid, if they're sitting by me or near me, I smile at them. I've been there, done that.
Exactly.
That's just part of travel. And no matter how well behaved your child is, what happens with pressures in the air and movement and things like that, it's going to upset a child, especially a small child. And you can't just tell people, well, don't fly until your kid's 4 years old or something like that. I mean, people have to fly; they do fly.
Right.
But it used to bother me. I know this is a selfish thing for me to say, to have crying kids near me. Now, it's a sound of joy.
And I am happy to help out however I can, because like you, I've been there. Yeah.
Right.
So that PSA ended with some simple asks from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
But manners don't stop at the gate.
That's right. Manners don't stop at the gate. Things aren't what they used to be. Some would call it the golden age of travel. Let's bring civility and manners back. Ask yourself, are you helping a pregnant woman put her bag in the overhead bin? Are you dressing with respect? Are you keeping control of your children? Are you saying thank you to your flight attendants and your pilots? Are you saying please and thank you in general? The golden age of travel begins with you.
I find it a little amusing, I do have to say. So what does dressing with respect mean?
Well, I think
wear your sweats to the airport?
Well, maybe like what you talked about before too, which is don't be shoeless while you're on the airplane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dress with respect. And without getting too graphic, I mean, you don't want to sit next to the person that's wearing short shorts.
Right.
You know,
Right.
the big person wearing short shorts. And I don't know. I always, maybe because I'm old school, it was rare and it was sort of a treat when we got to fly on an airplane. So you did sort of dress up a little. You took it a little more seriously. I still do. I at least I think I try to dress appropriately to fly on an aircraft, even though it doesn't really make much difference. I understand these public service announcements, and I understand Transportation Secretary Duffy wanting to make people nice and calm and get along. I don't find, Holly, in my experience, and I fly, I don't know, 6 or 8 times a year, that things are that bad. I really do find that people generally are pretty polite. The staff on aircraft these days are as patient, as kind as ever. And I don't see the problems. I do, but I don't know that it's worse than it was, say, 20, 30 years ago.
I see news stories more than I actually see it happening, right? But his third point, are you keeping control of your children and helping them through the airport? Because I have schlepped kids through the airport, lots of them, sometimes that's easier said than done. And I have had times where I thought I planned ahead well enough, but I didn't have enough diapers, and we ended up with a diaper emergency, right?
Oops.
I had one time where I had to go into a gift store and buy an adult T-shirt because that's all I could find to put on my 2-year-old because she had leaked through everything I had. And so I got an emergency diaper, but then I had to go buy her some clothes because everything I had packed and planned was soaked.
Here's something you deal with from both sides, either as a person who's running a little bit late or a person who sees someone in line who's running a little bit late. You missed your connecting flight, or at least maybe it was late, or maybe you're just not as prepared as you should be. At what point, Holly, have you ever, when you're really running late, asked to move to the head of the line?
I have, and I also have been told no. So, look, we have some texters.
Oh.
Somebody said I had someone next to me cut their toenails. Gross. Someone fall asleep on my shoulder, and then my son sat next to someone who died. Oh my gosh, that would be traumatic. Another texter says they don't want to see crude artwork or foul language on a shirt. Another one says, I don't want to see your cleavage. Another one says that they took a trip to Italy in 2007, and they had a 6-year-old kick the back of their chair from Dallas to London. When I politely asked Dad if he could stop, Dad says he can't do anything because kids will do that. On the way back, I sat next to a 400-pound man. His belly was literally falling into my lap.
I would say in the last couple of years, one of the worst experiences, you just pointed out, one of the worst experiences my wife and I had was a man who had an incredibly offensive shirt on the whole flight, and he was proud of it. I mean, it was grotesque. I won't even describe it, but it was troublesome. And you sat behind him, and you had this picture. It was like, oh, dude, do you really need to bring that to the airport?
Well, this question is for our female listeners. Have you ever been called piggy, or were you told you were terrible at your job by a man in a position of power? Well, that happened again to a couple of female journalists this week while speaking with President Trump, and we're going to talk about that when we come back after this break.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
The power of...
We're going to go back to the funeral services for former Vice President Dick Cheney. We're now listening to former Representative Liz Cheney as she speaks about her father.
The path I had traveled was partly due to the circumstance of my birth. Not that I had been born into a powerful or privileged family. I wasn't. But I was born an American, a blessing surely among life's greatest. My dad thought deeply about what this blessing meant, about the duties it imposed. Shortly after he became Secretary of Defense in 1989, he described departing from the Pentagon. As my helicopter lifted off the Pentagon helipad, I could look across the river to the great monuments of Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln, to the White House and the Capitol building, where all the great decisions that have shaped 200 years of American history were made. And I could look directly out on Arlington National Cemetery and remember what a terrible price thousands of brave Americans have paid so that all of us could enjoy the blessings of liberty. My dad's devotion to America was deep and substantive. He spent his life studying the history of our great republic. He knew you couldn't truly appreciate what it means to live in freedom if you didn't understand the sacrifices of the generations who came before. And he made sure that his children and grandchildren understood this too. When Mary and I were little, my dad would load up our station wagon on the weekends to take us to visit Civil War battlefields. With the back seat down and no need for seatbelts in those days, we would stretch out, eating Krispy Kreme donuts for breakfast, while my dad drove us to places like Gettysburg, Antietam, Chancellorsville, and Manassas. To be clear, even with the donuts, Mary and I were not enthusiastic participants in these outings. As you might imagine, Dick Cheney read every word of every sign at every battlefield, museum, and national park he ever visited. When you're 5 or 6 years old, this is not your idea of a good time. Mary and I usually moaned and groaned about how long he was taking, and Dick Cheney ignored us. And he just kept reading the signs. He didn't lecture us or demand that we read anything, but we pretty quickly realized no one was going anywhere until he got done. And so we figured we might as well start reading the signs too. And what an education we got. That was the thing about Dick Cheney. He wouldn't force his opinion on you or demand you do things his way. He might not share his opinion at all if you didn't ask. In fact, he was known to go long stretches of time without saying a single word. But if you watched closely, if you asked questions, if you listened when he did speak, you had the experience of seeing the world opening up in front of you, of looking at things in new ways, of benefiting from his clarity of thought, his ability to crystallize what was important and what wasn't. And he was always surprising. Many know the story of his time at Yale. If my dad heard you say he flunked out, he would correct you. No, I was asked to leave. Twice. He took a break from school and he spent several years building power line across the West. I had heard this part of the story my whole life, but it wasn't until I worked with him on his memoirs that I learned how he spent his evenings. At the end of long days, he'd unroll his sleeping bag by a campfire or on a cot in the cook tent, and by the light of his Coleman lantern, he read Winston Churchill's 6-volume history of World War II. By the fall of 1963, Dick Cheney was convinced, some would say threatened, by my mother to return to school. He'd been at the University of Wyoming just a few weeks when he climbed to a seat up near the rafters of the packed field house to hear President John F. Kennedy urge the students to dedicate their lives to the service of our nation. I think this is the moment my dad decided what direction his life should take. Though he was inspired to service by President Kennedy, Dick Cheney became a Republican. But he knew that bonds of party must always yield to the single bond we share as Americans. For him, a choice between defense of the Constitution and defense of your political party was no choice at all. When he was vice president, he wrote in this letter to all of his grandchildren, "As you grow, you will come to understand the sacrifices that each generation makes to preserve freedom and democracy for future generations. And you will assume the important responsibilities of citizens in our society. I ask of you as my grandchildren what I asked of my daughters, that you always strive in your lives to do what is right." In the last few years, God gave me one of the greatest blessings of my life, the gift of time with my dad. We spent hours sitting by the fire at his house or mine, watching football and old movies. We went to grandkids' games and matches, and we hit the road again, this time with me in the driver's seat. Now, let me be clear, he did not like my driving. And in his defense, I had wrecked far too many of his cars over the years for him to be happy with this arrangement. But we reached an accommodation of sorts. My dad agreed to let me drive if I agreed to let him choose the music. Johnny Cash, John Denver, and yes, even the Carpenters were the soundtrack of our road trips. We went to places he'd taken us 50 years ago, to Manassas and Antietam and Mount Vernon. My dad in his Stetson, the latest copy of The Economist, that day's newspapers, and a book always tucked into the door pocket. We drove for hours. We talked about life and family, history, and America. Sometimes my dad's yellow lab, Max, would jump in the back seat and come with us. Max, like every dog we ever had, loved my dad the best. To be in my dad's company was to know safety and love and laughter and kindness. There's a picture taken several years ago of him in his cowboy hat and jeans, in a fleece jacket. He has his arm around one of his young grandsons, who's leaning into his warm embrace. Looking at that picture last week, my mom put it best when she said that's what he was to all of us. He was a giant to the end, a lion of a man who loved and served this great republic. The night before my dad died, the sky above my parents' house filled with clouds in the shape of winged angels. I had never seen anything like it. It seemed indeed that angels and archangels and all the company of heaven had come to watch over him. As my dad left this earth, his last words were to tell my mother he loved her. And now, all of us who loved him so dearly say to him, "Good night, sweet Dad. May flights of angels sing thee to thy rest."
That was Liz Cheney speaking at the funeral of her father. Really interesting remarks. I did want to hear from her. I really did. And from former President George Bush. This is quite a beautiful cathedral, really an incredible venue. I think it's at the Washington Monument?
Washington Cathedral.
Yeah, the Washington National Cathedral. I guess I hadn't appreciated how beautiful that setting is until watching it now. And we hadn't thought or talked much about former Vice President Dick Cheney. I hadn't realized that he was ill. The funeral kind of surprised me a little bit this morning when I heard about it. Of course, I guess I hadn't been watching some of that as well as I should have, but really a poignant funeral. He had some interesting things written about him. There was a movie, Christian Bale played him in a movie called Vice, and it was a brilliant portrayal. I assume even Dick Cheney liked it. it wasn't necessarily friendly, but movies aren't supposed to be. If you want to get people to watch it, they sort of portray the person in the light that's the most likely to get people to show up and buy movie tickets. But it was a well done movie, and it made you sort of appreciate the man behind the vice president, behind the president at the time, who was George Bush. He served as his vice president for 2 terms.
I thought it was really interesting as former President George W. Bush spoke and talked about sitting down and talking with a chief of staff, not his chief of staff. I think it was Gerald Ford's chief of staff, if I remember correctly, and saying, who should I pick as my vice president, right? And it was Dick Cheney did not volunteer himself. So he ended up choosing Dick Cheney, and he said during his remarks a little earlier in the funeral that there was somebody who had some pretty strong feelings against Dick Cheney being chosen. And so they said, okay, make your case. And Dick Cheney just sat there while the person made his case against choosing Dick Cheney as vice president. And then, of course, as you know, he was chosen, and he served for 8 years with President George W. Bush.
It had to be really bittersweet for him, being the politician that he was, being the Republican that he was, being the sort of dyed-in-the-wool politician that he was, to watch his daughter do such an incredible job under such incredible pressure when she headed the January 6th Commission.
Yeah.
And I may have her title wrong, but she was very much a part of that. And it was a difficult time in our country because January 6th, we're talking about what's been come to be known as the insurrection, and the investigation that went into that. People put a tremendous amount of time into that. She put her heart and soul into it. And then really President Trump takes office this year and pardons everyone. That January 6th is almost a thing of the past, even though at the time we were looking at it going, people are trying to overthrow the government. And she took that very seriously. She took it very seriously to the point where she was being critical of Trump, comments that he made, and they were interviewing a lot of people that were there, and they tried to do a good job. I think the commission came out with some good findings and some good information, and it was made for TV, I had to say.
It cost her seat, and she knew that, I'm sure, going in, that there was going to be a political cost, but she did what she thought she needed to. I think when I heard that Vice President Cheney had passed, I hadn't realized he had had so many heart issues, actually. And so that was interesting. And in fact, during this funeral, his cardiologist spoke, which is a little bit different, I think. I don't usually think of cardiologists standing up and speaking at funerals for people that they attended.
Right. I don't remember or know how old he was.
84.
84. Yeah. Well, not an old man by any means. Went to Yale. Apparently.
Depends on who you're talking to, Greg. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Went to Yale for some period of time. Had some
was kicked out.
Well, yeah, or asked to leave twice. But had a distinguished career. I mean, he seems like the kind of person that would have gone to Yale, and maybe the kind of person that may have been kicked out of Yale because the movie portrayed him as a little bit of a player, a little bit, he was having a little too much fun in college. Not that that's necessarily a curse, but if it gets you kicked out or moved out of the college, that sort of, and you don't want that to define you. Of course, he became vice president of the United States, so obviously it didn't.
It's, it's been touching to watch, as funerals generally are. So if you'll stay with us, we'll be back after this break.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story, a raw milk shop in Ogden was the victim of vandals this week. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
The Milk Barn Creamery has been selling raw milk since 2014, something the business describes as long before it became a political talking point. They posted about it on Facebook, saying they know their product is not for everyone and that's okay. The graffiti itself was anti-raw milk in nature, with an expletive about the milk sold there, and RFK approved, referencing Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, who is a known raw milk advocate. Ogden police are currently investigating. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News, Verizon is laying off more than 13,000 employees. The job cuts began today, according to a staff memo. Verizon CEO Dan Schulman wrote they must reorient the entire company to improve their ability to invest and improve customer experiences. The newly renovated Delta Center and ice rink will not be the site of the Winter Olympics' most popular sport in 2034. The Salt Lake Tribune reports ice skating will be held at the Maverick Center instead. The West Valley venue will also host all short track speed skating events. Ice hockey will instead be played at the Delta Center. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 222 points. Now, what a swing today. We're at 45,916. Coming up, a few more showers before we dry out. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Most folks wait till January to say, I should probably fix this or do something about how you feel. But you know what? You're going to go into 2026 with the resolution already done because soda helps you lose the weight now, so your New Year's all celebration.
You and I both started our soda weight loss journey in October and November, right? And I loved going into holiday parties knowing I had a plan. It wasn't just, I'm going to try not to. It was, this is my plan, because I've spoken with a nutritionist and I get a jump start on that, first of the year goal by beginning soda weight loss right now.
Yeah, there's no guesswork. You're supported every step of the way, and you need that. And right now, there's an amazing offer from Soda for you and your partner. You join, and your partner joins for free.
So why gain 20 pounds just to lose it in the new year? Go to Soda Weight Loss today and begin today.
That's sodaweightloss.com, SOTA weightloss.com, because soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
She was the most luxurious ship of her time, a grand symbol of hope and elegance. No other story has captured our hearts quite like hers. Book your passage now for Titanic the Exhibition at the Shops at Southtown in Sandy. Walk through stunning recreations of Titanic staterooms, stand at the steps of the iconic Grand Staircase, and connect with unforgettable stories of passengers and crew. For a limited time in Sandy, secure passage at titanicexhibition.com. titanicexhibition.com.
Hi, I'm Andy, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. As a product development manager, I make sure every piece of fine jewelry at Shane Company is meticulously designed for quality. From 14-karat gold chains, pearl necklaces, diamond studs, and of course, dream engagement rings. We know you can get your holiday gifts anywhere these days, but knowing your loved one's gift was crafted by master jewelers? It's a difference everyone can see and feel, no matter the price. All of our fine jewelry begins with a vision by our in-house designers. Then, we ensure each piece meets our high-quality standards every step of the way, including the smallest details. It's why our jewelry comes with our all-inclusive, free lifetime warranty that covers everything and doesn't cost a dime. At Shane Company, there's no shortcuts, just craftsmanship. Because a friend wants your fine jewelry to be nothing short of perfect. Come see for yourself. Visit us in-store or at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Just how good is Pure Talk's current deal for unlimited wireless? Well, you might say it's the deal of your lifetime. Because right now, for just $29.95 a month, Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for life. Not your phone's life, your life. This is Pure Talk's top-tier plan. It comes with a crazy fast 5G network along with a 30-gig hotspot. And at just $29.95 a month, there has never been a better opportunity to lock in a ridiculously low rate for as long as you live. And save thousands and thousands of dollars along the way. This plan is normally $65 a month, but if you switch today, you will save over 50% every single month for the rest of your life. See what I mean? It really is the deal of your lifetime. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. Offer ends 12/7. Some restrictions apply. Details at puretalk.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. And back to you, Steve.
Well, right now, traffic is clearing out on eastbound 33rd South in South Salt Lake from I-15. Looks like those tracks train crossing arms were in the down position, causing a lot of backups a few minutes ago. We also have a stalled semi on the Corey Ride Highway. This is westbound at Mountain View Corridor in Saratoga Springs. Center lane is blocked there. Meantime, north and southbound I-15 rolling crash-free. Got the full speed limit between Ogden and Provo. Same goes for all the belt routes, the 201 and I-80. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
We still have a few more rain showers passing through today, a high of 52. Then we dry out for the weekend with a high of 49 both Friday and Saturday. Right now it's cloudy and 46 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We will continue to follow and monitor the funeral services for former Vice President Dick Cheney, which are ongoing right now in Washington. But I wanted to break away a little bit and talk about the holiday season and what consumers are doing this year, because they're pulling back a little bit on gift giving this holiday, setting up some spending boundaries. We're hearing that only 38% plan to buy gifts for immediate family and closest friends. They only plan to buy for gifts for immediate family and closest friends. 23% of consumers have agreed with family members to scale back on gifts. 23% say they'll have the same number of people but with smaller and less expensive gifts, and 21% plan to give more practical or experimental gifts, something that maybe they make.
Experience,
right,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So that is from a new holiday consumer sentiment survey from the Bank of America, and we're going to spend the next segment talking with our listeners about gift giving, whether they're setting spending boundaries or scaling back. You can text us at 57500, but we'll take live calls in the next segment. But right now we have Maury Polson with us, the Bank of America Utah president, to talk to us about how we can set spending boundaries and what kind of advice he might have for us.
Sure, it's great to be on the call this morning.
So what can you tell our listeners, Maury, about, first of all, that the season is such that some people are coming off of government shutdown, some people have had their benefits cut back. What should people be thinking about this year as they start thinking about spending money for the holidays?
Well, we have a few tips. First and foremost, it's best to communicate. So a lot of times stress comes from mismatched expectations. So it helps to talk about spending limits early. Agree on a budget cap, limit who you're gifting to, or even focusing on shared experiences over physical gifts can make the season more enjoyable. I know my wife would much prefer an experience from our children than a physical gift. So that might include going to dinner, a concert, cooking class, or some other shared experience.
What a great idea.
Right. So tell us, when you're looking at these numbers from this survey that was done by Bank of America, what kind of concerns did you have?
Well, the concern is that people will end up having a less than enjoyable holiday experience because they're stressed about the gift-giving experience, or that they maybe overspend. So, we think it's really important to plan ahead, create a detailed budget with a maximum spending limit, make a list of everyone to whom you plan to give gifts, along with a specific dollar amount for each person. It also helps to get shopping done early. Putting gifts buying off until the last minute often results in overspending in an effort to buy something that one thinks will be meaningful to the recipient. So it's important to integrate your holiday gift budget into monthly finances to ensure you still have enough to cover your basic needs.
Maury, this might be an unfair question, but Maury, what do you think is driving these concerns that our consumers are having right now? Is it tariffs? Is it government cutbacks? Is it cutback in services? Maybe a little bit of all of the above. But why do you think that consumers are dialing it back this year?
Yeah, I think it's you mentioned a lot of things that are concerns for people, and when people face uncertainty, that's when they're going to pull back. So we're actually seeing still in the last month's data an increase in spending from consumers over the prior month last year. But people are being more cautious, and the rate of increase is slowing, and that's because of the uncertainty they face. So they're concerned about the increase in costs and things. They're concerned about potential income changes and those sort of things that's affecting their spending.
So you mentioned maybe have a conversation early about setting spending boundaries. That feels like it might be a little bit awkward. How do you recommend that people broach that topic?
I think it can be fairly easy with family members. My wife's really good about that. She'll say, "Hey, this year, why don't we stick to something around this amount between ourselves and to our kids?" So then I've got a budget in my head that I know we're going to spend. A lot of times she'll communicate that to our children too, and she'll say, "Hey, don't worry about buying us anything lavish this year." Yeah, again, like I mentioned before, she'll say, "I would much prefer to have a shared experience with you than receive a gift. So, figure out a night we can go to dinner together, or let's go to a concert." So I think those types of conversations can be easier with immediate family. Certainly those are difficult with friends. And close friends, I think that if one is concerned about spending the holiday season, that it can be completely appropriate to go to a friend and say, "Look, this is what I plan on spending this year in gifts," just so they have an idea of what area, what the limits might be.
Thank you, Maury. That was Maury Polson, Bank of America, Utah president. Holly, what do you think? He mentioned something I want to talk about, which is communication. Because one thing that happens that's awkward is somebody shows up to your house and they give you a gift and you hadn't planned on that occurring, or you give someone else a gift and then you can see the look in their eye, like, "Oh, I didn't know we were exchanging this year." You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what's awkward for me with extended family is we have quite a wide variety of income levels within my siblings and my parents. I have a couple of siblings that are multimillionaires. I am not, right? And so when it's like, "Well, what do you want to do for Christmas?" Well, if I give you a gift card, I could just go buy my own gift card. I mean, so sometimes that really is awkward, and we have really stopped in our extended family doing gifts with each other.
We did the same thing, and it was in response to at least one of my siblings saying, "Okay, we just need to dial it back. We're retired. We don't have those resources anymore." And as the family expands, then you have to decide, do you buy for everybody? Do you just pick a name out of a hat, which we did for some time with some success. But our family has decided we'll see each other, we'll get together, we'll do whatever, but we're not exchanging gifts. Of course, people always break the rule and buy something anyway.
So we have done about 100 different things. It's not really that many, but we had to try a bunch of different things with our family. And then, of course, as they get older, and now we mostly have adult children. We do have some grandchildren, of course. But we have... I think we've done everything from let's take everybody to the dollar store and everybody can buy everybody else a gift.
Yeah.
So we did that when we had 9 children, and that was 81 different gifts that mom had to help wrap and mom had to help buy and mom had to help put under the tree. The good thing about that is we didn't care if they broke on Christmas Day, right? Because it was $1.
It was a $1 gift, right?
But it became, after a couple of years of that, we're like, okay, we're done. And because the kids, there were enough of them that they got tired of opening presents. They didn't want to do it anymore.
I'll tell you, I got a text this week from my daughter that had a picture of a train set and said, "This would be a really nice gift for the grandkids this year."
Hint, hint.
Yeah, like I thought, okay, well, it's never too early, Dad. And it I thought it was great because I never know what to get. As a grandparent, you do feel like you got to get something for your grandkids. I mean, it's not the kind of thing that I don't have the money this year. You have grandkids, you want to give them something.
Let me tell you what we do. We do a Google spreadsheet, and I have created like a questionnaire. And every year I send it out and say, put in what you want. Here's your dollar spending limit, right? And so I have grandkids that have this whole, here, use my Amazon wish list, right? And that is helpful.
Why does it not surprise me that you create a Google spreadsheet?
Well, because there's so many.
I know, that's what I mean.
I don't have enough brain power to hold it all in my head.
No surprise at all.
So text us at 57500. We'll also be taking live calls in the next segment. We already do have one texter. We'll read that when we come back. But we're going to talk about Christmas spending, holiday spending. So are you scaling back? How do you set spending boundaries? We're going to talk about all of that. Stay with us.
The power of we believes in you. It advocates for you. It completes your circle. It makes sure you have the strongest circle possible. And with Intermountain Health in yours, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
My friend Joey means well.
Always remember that the early bird gathers no moss.
But he gets a little confused.
You know, you can't make a silk purse out of a wooden nickel.
Like Joey, many of us can be confused when it comes time to plan for retirement. When to take Social Security, how to use that 401k, what about the stock market, taxes, and Medicare? Todd Kim at Galileo Wealth Management can help to simplify retirement planning. His goal is to have you walk into retirement with confidence, not worry, and to address the number one concern among retirees today, the fear of running out of money. Call Galileo Wealth today for a no-cost, no-obligation meeting to talk about the details of your retirement. 385-247-7000. It's 385-247-7000 or online, GalileoWealth.com. And remember,
one man's trash is thicker than water. Of course, water's not thick at all. It's watery.
The end of the year is coming so fast. Your house needs to be ready for those big get-togethers. At 5 Star Painting, our service is hotter than a glowing red doorknob. From colors so smooth, rich, and inviting, to bold and bright enough to hit like a hot iron. Trust 20 years of experience, over 1,000 beaming reviews, and our 2-year warranty that sets us apart from all the others. Leave your guests thirsty for more. This year, let us swing the paint cans. 5starpainting.com.
The United States is facing a mental health crisis, but there is hope. At Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, they're transforming how mental health is treated and researched, bringing compassion, innovation, and access to those who need it most. Your donation helps fund life-saving care and cutting-edge research that leads to better treatment for everyone. It's already making a difference. Huntsman Mental Health Foundation has built Utah's first ever mental health crisis care center, open 24/7 to anyone, regardless of ability to pay. They've also recently launched a youth crisis care program at Huntsman Mental Health Institute, giving kids and teens immediate support. And Huntsman Mental Health Foundation is expanding services like therapy, medication management, geriatric care, and treatment-resistant support. Join us. Be part of the change. Donate today at hmhf.org. That's hmhf.org.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions and bring you a special Black Friday offer.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio. And now, as a special Black Friday offer, you can get a free gutter inspection, plus up to 35% off. This is our best offer of the season. Unlock it now at leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
Mr. Max, suiting for every important chapter of your life. Weddings, proms, new job, any celebration, mission callings, and more. Mr. Max there to suit your needs with 9 locations or MrMac.com.
and expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Well, holiday budgets are tighter than ever, and we want to know if you are scaling back on gift giving this year, and if so, have you set spending boundaries with loved ones without dampening the holiday spirit? Call us at 801-575-TALK or text us at 57500 and tell us what you're doing this year. I'm looking at what a week from tomorrow would be Black Friday.
Yep.
And I'm looking at a study from Wallet Hub, I think, on the best places to shop on Black Friday in 2025 based on the average discount that these retailers are offering. The number one place to shop if you're looking at discounts, and this is 74% average discount, JCPenney. 74% average discount. Wow. The top 10, and they're all way up there. The lowest discount was Costco. Of course, I think a lot of people would say they're already discounted about as far as they could go, but they still had a 15.1% discount, which is significant. But JCPenney 74, Belk, I've never heard of, 70%. Kohl's, big place, 45% and down. So yeah, a lot of places are gearing up for Black Friday, and I guess it's not just the day to show up, it's a day to get really good bargains.
Well, we do have some texters, and we have one who says we're cutting back massively on Christmas, nothing to the 23 grandkids, only the two of us, maybe $250 max. Another texter says, my family has many siblings. We send a chart for one sibling to give to another sibling each year and rotates from one year to another.
Yeah, that often works, and that's something we've done that was fun. And I appreciate the first text, too, which is, hey,
we've really got to cut back
we're
this
just
year.
not doing it this year.
And you know that, so this we do a Secret Santa, and so instead of drawing names from a hat, we did used to do that actually, but we have gone to an internet randomizer. So I just plug everybody's name in, let the computer do the work, and then just pair people up and say, here's who you have this year. So we will do that. So the siblings don't all give to each other. The grandkids don't all give to each other. We just do one person for one person. And then mom and dad, meaning me and my husband, we have limits. So we do $50 for the kids, the adult kids, so spouses also, and $25 for the grandkids. So we have another texter that says we're definitely scaling back this year. The economy is falling fast. Once the new healthcare prices kick in, the economy is going to tank like 2008. We're saving now in order to ride out the next Great Recession coming soon. And then another texter like me.
This is not the Christmas spirit we wanted to hear, but it's realistic, and I appreciate our listeners being so open and honest with us.
We have another texter that's like me that says, as grandparents, we give $25 Amazon gift cards with the request that each individual call, text, or visit to tell us what they got with the card.
My parents used to do that. You got a gift card, but you had to take a picture of whatever you got with your gift card.
Yeah.
You couldn't just buy groceries or something.
It's really funny because we have one daughter. She's 24, almost 25 years old. And if I give her a gift card, she will not use it. If I give her cash, she'll use cash. If I actually buy her a physical present, she'll use that. But if I give her a gift card, it just like disappears into the ether and it never gets used.
Because intentionally, or she just doesn't use them?
I think it just...
How do you know?
She doesn't think... she's told me. She said, don't give me a gift card because it'll never get used. And so I that's actually something that if you go look up the data, there's a lot of people who, they don't use the gift cards.
Right.
But let me tell you this. So I have... I posted on my social media this morning and asked how people were managing gift giving and staying on budget. And one of my friends said that they started the 12 dates of Christmas. So 12 dates throughout the year that their kids could look forward to so they could spread out the cost. So some things were like a picnic in the mountains, some were movie tickets. And so I asked her, I said, do you have trouble with your kids not remembering to use the coupons that you give them? And she said no, because she puts them on her kitchen counter. I was cleaning out my storage room recently, and I found a coupon from one of my daughters from probably 6 or 7 years ago. It was a really nice one. She goes, I want to take you out on a shopping spree, Mom. It's worth $300. I never cashed in. I never went to her and said, hey, yeah, let's do this. And that's my trouble with these coupon books. Not so much with gift cards, but with coupons for a date night or I never use them. I never remember to use them.
Yeah, I have a whole wallet full of gift cards. Every once in a while, I'll pull them out and go, we should use this. And every once in a while, it's the first a restaurant that's not in existence anymore.
Yeah.
Which I'm going back to this Wallet Hub study. The overall average discount on Black Friday is 37%. That's significant. And in terms of categories, computers and phones is one of the biggest share of discounted items at over 20%, whereas consumer packaged goods, I'm not sure what that means, has the smallest cut at only 2.8%. So there's certain items, certain stores, certain things you can buy and expect to get a good deal on Black Friday. You used to do a Black Friday thing. I think
we
you
did.
Told me.
So we used to get up at dark 30 in the morning. I swear it was probably, 3:30 or 4, and literally stand in line. And for me, it was outside the fabric store so that I could get flannel for really cheap. And here is the true confession. I did get flannel for like $1 a yard outside of Joann Fabrics that doesn't even exist anymore because they went bankrupt. And it's all sitting down in my storage room. I had great ideas for making a ton of blankets, and mostly I didn't do it.
Yeah,
but I stood outside in the cold so that I could get. Actually, what I did use the flannel for was to make pajama pants,
I
did that. Yeah,
my mom made flannel pajama pants every year.
I did pajama pants for years and years and years, and then I got overwhelmed because I did 35 pair one year, and I was like, I'm done.
So that's a cool thing that I haven't been able to do because I don't sew or create very well. But gifts that you made that you can make are really special because then it's not like, I don't know, you certainly put some money into it, but your time is pretty cool too. And even with the economy, you can put time into something.
We have another texter who said that they give each family $250 to use in the giving machines. And so that's really great. They already have everything they need. And so they have money. We've talked about the giving machines where you can buy a goat or you can, buy bandages for people experiencing leprosy. I mean, there's just so many different things. And so
you give family members a gift of giving.
A gift of giving. Yeah. My grandma gave me the gift of a half of a heifer, right? It's our Heifer International. But one year she's like, I don't really need to give you stuff. Here's something that is good and valuable. And it was through Heifer International.
We did talk about those giving machines. They seemed like a great idea.
That's
right.
There
was going to be one put up here close by.
Yeah, close to, I think in City Creek. And then I think just right over at the Church History Museum. That's really close to where we are right now.
Good idea. That's a fun gift, actually.
The gift of giving. And that's where you get, sometimes it's like, okay, all of my kids are adults. And so this is what some of my adult daughters have said this year. They're like, Mom, we're all adults. We have our own families. What if we just focused on, we'll do stockings at your house and then we'll play games for the rest of the day. And we won't spend the time saying, okay, everybody sit around and watch another person open a present. And it's funny because I never thought that people would get bored of opening presents, but they can. And so that's what we're going to do this year. We're going to focus on stockings, and then we're going to focus on playing games and eating snacks because I don't cook on Christmas Day. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, and my mother always did. Of course, she passed away, but we would always go to Mom's house Christmas afternoon at 4 o'clock. No matter what you did, you went to Mom's house. And maybe I should start putting on that sort of tradition myself.
I used to cook, but it's like, you know what? I need at least one day off. So we cook on Christmas Eve, and then we have leftovers on Christmas Day.
Yeah. Well, and going down some of these Black Friday retailers, the top 10 include the Home Depot, Amazon, Target. I mean, there's some big names, Macy's, Best Buy, big companies that are doing a good job, or at least claiming to be going through some fairly significant discounts. But the top 10 Black Friday best retailers have big discounts. Like I said, JCPenney's over 74%.
Well, that always makes me wonder if they're overpriced every other day of the year.
Right. Well, let's pivot to the law a little bit here. This is something I enjoy. And yesterday, the Justice Department admitted in a hearing, this is a hearing involving the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey, that there were some flaws, maybe fatal, with respect to how they presented their grand jury. We're going to talk about grand jury indictments. I won't get into the weeds too much. How they work, what's happened in this particular case that's got everybody interested, and why it is that James Comey believes and argued to a judge yesterday that his charges should all be dismissed. We'll talk about that when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. A Vineyard City Council woman has resigned just 2 weeks after the general election, citing a hostile political climate. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Councilwoman Sarah Cameron turned in her letter of resignation yesterday. KSL was able to get the letter, and while she didn't say specific reasons for leaving, she did say there was an increased amount of political performatism, misinformation, and an undermining of collaborative, fact-based policymaking. She says this climate has made it difficult to serve effectively while holding a standard of integrity, so made the decision to resign.
Her resignation is effective immediately. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The life of former Vice President Dick Cheney was honored today in Washington, D.C. President George W. Bush, who Cheney served for 2 terms, delivered a eulogy at his funeral. He spoke about his decision to choose Cheney as his VP.
In the end, I trusted my judgment. I remember my dad's words when I told him what I was planning. He said, "Son, you couldn't pick a better man."
The former president spoke about how in a world of talkers, Cheney was a listener and a thinker. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 314 points. The S&P is down 57 points. And coming up, showers tonight. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Or are they promising you up to 10% growth per year, all for your retirement income? If not, then you need to come to Trajan Wealth. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you have a plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hardworking folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 upfront or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't keep working when you're supposed to be retired, and don't let any financial advisor tell you it's too good to be true. Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Annuities, not advisory products. DBA Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions and bring you a special Black Friday offer.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal. And now, as a special Black Friday offer, you can get a free gutter inspection, plus up to 35% off. This is our best offer of the season. Unlock it now at leaffilter.com/deal. See representative for warranty details.
$1.5 trillion is parked on the sidelines. Projects that would help create good-paying American jobs are stuck in years of burdensome reviews. Permitting reform would unlock over 650 major U.S. infrastructure projects, from new roads and bridges to bringing more energy online. With faster, more efficient permitting, we can unleash America's economic potential. Let's move from waiting to building. Ready, set, let's build. Paid for by Business Roundtable.
You make the holidays happen. School parties, shopping, wrapping gifts at midnight. The last thing you need to worry about? Dinner. With Beehive Meals, delicious frozen meals are delivered to your door, ready for your slow cooker. No chopping, no stress, and no takeout guilt. Come home to the smell of dinner done, kids happy, and a kitchen that's not a disaster zone. Make this season easier and a lot more delicious. Order now at beehivemeals.com.
Traffic's rough, but your parking lot doesn't have to be. GoPave Utah keeps things smooth with expert asphalt maintenance at GoPaveUtah.com. Call or visit GoPaveUtah.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. Here's Steve Carlson.
Got some wet roads out there in spots in the Salt Lake Valley, but otherwise really no issues on either direction of I-15 between Springville and South Willard. In Saratoga Springs, the tow truck just hauled off that stalled semi on Corey Wright Highway at southbound Mountain View corridor, so all the lanes are back open there. Also an easy drive on all the belt routes. The 201 looks good, same for I-80 both directions. Culligan Water, healthy, pure, clean drinking water, cleaner laundry, and even softer skin and hair. Get rid of that hard, funky tasting water. Call Culligan today, 801-509-9602. Culligan Water, water you love. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
It will be cloudy and gray today with chances for more rain through today and into tonight. Tomorrow, highs will stick around the upper 40s and low 50s. The sun comes back out this weekend. Right now, 48 and cloudy. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We continue to talk to and hear from our listeners with respect to what they're doing this holiday season with the economy and how they're handling things with who they buy for and who they don't buy for. And you've got a couple more interesting texts we got during the break.
I do. So one texter told us that for Christmas they go out to Chinese food on Christmas Day and then to a movie, and it's become one of my kids' favorite traditions, and I have all little kids. And then another says, my 13-year-old is asked to pick a couple of names off the angel tree. She knows how much her dad and I miss picking out toys for her, so she wants to give that to other kids. How sweet.
Yeah, well, we love our texts from our listeners and especially gift-giving time. And speaking of gifts, former FBI Director James Comey may have received one yesterday when the Department of Justice admitted that the actual indictment that is being used to prosecute him was never presented to the full grand jury. So the criminal case against former FBI Director James Comey, he was indicted by a grand jury, is hanging by a thread a little bit. At a hearing yesterday, the prosecutor, the new acting United States Attorney, Lindsay Halligan, admitted that she submitted a grand jury indictment that most members of the grand jury didn't even see. ABC's chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky tells us more.
The judge ended up putting Halligan on the spot. She has never tried a criminal case before, and she admitted that she never showed the full grand jury the final version of the indictment before it was signed by the foreperson. And that is highly irregular. The disclosure shocked the courtroom into silence, and almost immediately his attorney called for the entire case to be thrown out. Somehow, Halligan got word that two of the charges the grand jury would have voted for had they stood on their own. And apparently Halligan rewrote the indictment, omitting the problematic charge, and only presented the rewritten indictment to the foreperson and one other grand juror. So the whole grand jury did not see what eventually was signed off on.
That's only one of the problems with this grand jury indictment, and we'll talk about the other one in a minute. But let me tell you the significance of this one, Holly. The grand jury indictment, well, let me back up even further. Trump asks the U.S. attorney in that division to investigate or look into potential charges against FBI Director James Comey for lying to Congress with respect to whether or not he had one of his subordinates leak information about Russian collusion in the election. The former U.S. attorney in that division, I think it's in Virginia, said, I don't want anything to do with this, and in fact resigned. Mm-hmm. So Trump appoints this Lindsay Halligan, who has never tried a case, doesn't do criminal work, and she gets a grand jury to approve what's called a true bill, a grand jury indictment, days before the statute of limitations ran for that particular charge.
Right.
So if, in fact, that grand jury indictment is flawed, they can't just go back and say, oh, we'll fix it. because the time has run now.
Yeah.
The statute of limitations has run. This, if it's granted, this could be a huge win for James Comey. He doesn't even have to go to trial because statute of limitations is run. The statute of limitations is a fixed period. It's something like 5 years after the last occurrence that tolls the statute. So that date is passed now. The grand jury indictment is issued within the time, but if it's a flawed indictment, maybe it's not within the time.
So help our listeners and me understand. You have this grand jury process. We don't have that in Utah, and there was an indictment, meaning the grand jury thought there was enough to continue with the prosecution. Is that how that works?
Yeah. So we have grand juries in Utah federal courts, but not in the state courts. You're exactly right. And a lot of states follow the same model. This is a federal proceeding, so it's not uncommon that would be before a grand jury. The grand jury has numbers of something like 16 to 24 individuals, but they usually have a fixed number that have to vote for an indictment. And that, I think it's 12, which would be over half of whatever your number is. So you've got to have 12 show up and say, yeah, we vote for the indictment. It's a presentation that the prosecution does to a group of citizens. They're called a grand jury. And the prosecution puts on evidence in front of them. There's no judge. There's no defense attorneys. There's no objection. But they have witnesses testify before the grand jury. And the grand jury hears that. And they say among themselves, we think that we should vote for a indictment. We should indict this person on the following charges. Now, the government might throw 10 charges at them, and maybe the grand jury will vote on 2 or 3 or 4, whatever. They can even change it up a little bit. But it has to be the decision of the grand jury. It has to have at least 12 members signing off on it. So the problem with this one was she's under the gun. She doesn't know what to do. She thinks she has the approval of this grand jury, but she just goes to the foreperson of the grand jury and has him or her sign it. But the other grand jurors, we don't know if they even approved it.
It sounds like the issue is that they hadn't even seen.
Right.
So do they have to present some kind of evidence, but it's not the same level as like basically a jury trial. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It's the same level that we have in Utah. We have what's called a preliminary hearing. It's a probable cause determination. Is there probable cause to believe that a crime was committed and that this individual committed the crime? The grand jury looks at that, or the judge looks at that in the state system at a preliminary hearing. It's a similar thing. Well, they're not similar at all, but the burden of proof is similar in each one. It's just a matter of how you get there. And then, because what we don't want in America is for the prosecution to have sort of unfettered discretion in filing charges.
Right.
Like prosecution says, I'm just going to file this case, and then next thing you know, there's a jury trial. So there's got to be a guardrail. There's got to be a way to look and make sure that the charges are sufficient. And in the federal system, what we do is we present it to a grand jury and say, is there enough here to go to trial? And in the state system, we present it to a judge in what's called a preliminary hearing and say, Your Honor, is there enough evidence here to send this case to trial? So the defense does have that level of due process, that level of, is there cause? Is there enough evidence here to go to trial in either jurisdiction?
So help me understand again what changed so that she did not go back to the full grand jury.
Exactly. So she may be a brilliant lawyer. I don't know. But she doesn't do this kind of work.
Right.
And she didn't understand how the grand jury process worked. And so she gets what she thinks is an indictment. She doesn't present it to the whole panel because she thinks they've approved it, I guess. She just takes it to the grand jury foreperson, and he signs it, he or she. But we don't know that is, in fact, what the 12-member grand jury voted on. We don't know that that's exactly what they had. There's another issue that came up, and this is a separate issue, and that is, was she even properly serving as the U.S. attorney for that division?
Right.
Because she hadn't received Senate approval. She was an interim U.S. attorney, and under the law, the president can appoint an interim U.S. attorney for 120 days. He had done that, and that's the U.S. attorney that withdrew.
Oh, interesting.
So Trump then appoints another U.S. attorney, but it's not clear whether he gets another 120 days, because otherwise you could just appoint interim U.S. attorneys every 4 months and never have to go through the approval process. So even her ability to have this case may be at jeopardy. So Comey raised 2 issues yesterday that caused a lot of concern before a couple of judges, and if either of those gets tossed, this whole case could be in jeopardy.
Well, that is interesting, and we'll continue to follow that. Look, we've talked about the concerning rise in violent political rhetoric. In fact, we've talked on this show about the judge in Utah's redistricting case getting enough threats that the judiciary felt like they had to issue a specific statement. Unfortunately, just this morning, the President of the United States on his social media platform, Truth Social, is posting and reposting calls for the execution of Democratic lawmakers. So that makes my head kind of explode. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Donate your car to Charity Hotline. This is Roger.
Hi, Roger, I'd like to donate my car.
Yeah, good. Leave the keys in it, park it on the street, and we'll send a thug. Tow.
Where's your office?
In New Jersey. Where do you want it to be?
Well, Roger,
Yeah.
I want to make sure my donation helps Utah kidney patients.
It will.
Which ones?
Well, does it matter?
Yes, I want the money to stay in Utah.
And boy, have you got the wrong number.
If you want your car donation to help people here in Utah, turn your car into a kidney car for the National Kidney Foundation of Utah and Idaho. Hi, this is Luz Lewis Perez. Kidney Cars is the Beehive State's #1 choice for charity car donation since 1990. When you donate your car to Kidney Cars, funding stays in Utah to help local Utah kidney patients and funds local medical research. Kidney Cars gets donors the highest tax deduction, along with free towing. Visit towcars.org and learn more. That's Tow Cars with a K like kidney. That's TOWKARS.org.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You deserve a chair that works as hard as you do. X-Chair. X-Chair ergonomic seating is built to move with you. DVL technology adapts to support your lumbar. SiFloat Infinite Recline lets you lean back and relax. X-Chair gives you all-day comfort and productivity. Save up to 50% during the X-Chair holiday sale. But hurry, inventory is limited. Visit xchair.com and save up to 50% today. That's xchair.com.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code BOOST25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code BOOST25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code BOOST25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you spend half your day walking or standing while working? If you have foot, knee, or back problems, the Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Tony.
Pain that I experience the most is foot pain from being on my feet all day. You're having to kind of talk to yourself through the whole shift, like, I got this, I can do this. Before, I felt defeated, and now it's like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. A whole new life, like sunshine coming on.
And how about working more comfortably, like Dennis?
Working at an amusement park, it's always on your feet. I just couldn't take it, but I didn't have a choice. I just couldn't believe that putting these arch supports in made that much of a difference that quickly. I could do my job and I could take care of my family. I know what my tomorrow is going to be. It's going to be positive.
You deserve a better life too. Stop in the Good Feet store today. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Okay, Holly, you got to help us set this up. President Trump is upset at some Democratic lawmakers for what he's calling seditious behavior. But let's talk about what he considers to be the seditious behavior in the first place. It had something to do with them telling military officials to stand down on certain things.
Well, it's not even to stand down, but it's so there were some Democrats who put together a video that directly, like looking directly at the camera and addressing the military and telling them, look, we know you're in a hard spot, but basically you took an oath to the Constitution and you can refuse to disobey illegal orders. Right. And so there was nothing in the video where they said, here's something specifically that we think that you should disobey. There wasn't anything like that. But they did say that under the U.S. Constitution that they had the right to disobey an illegal order. So there had been concerns.
Which is probably true.
Well, I think it is true. Right. But so what happened is the president got on Truth Social and he was mad and he posted that he called it sedition. Right. And he said basically, this is seditious behavior at the highest level. Each of these traitors to our country should be arrested and put on trial. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. An example must be set. And of course, there's a lot of capital letters. Somebody after that replied, hang them all. That's what George Washington would have done. And he posts on Truth Social, and then he actually comes back with a new post of his own that says sedition basically equals execution, right? So there are, of course, an immediate and swift reaction from people saying we cannot have the president of the United States calling for the execution of Democratic lawmakers.
And I'll also chime in from the lawyer point of view. The Congress repealed the Sedition Act in 1920, so we don't really have it's not criminal because the First Amendment provides a lot of protection for political speech, and we don't have laws criminalizing speech against the government. So and the way you articulated it, and I'm assuming that somebody's spelled out exactly what the lawmakers said, which isn't if you are ordered to respond to National Guard duty or something like you should disobey the order. They're not saying that at all. They're saying your duty as a military member is to uphold the Constitution, not necessarily follow your leaders. And if something that you're being told you believe is illegal or unconstitutional, you should. And I'm way out there in the field now, but basically, you don't have to follow an illegal order.
Yeah, and what's interesting is. There are people on the right who are defending the president's comments and his posts on Truth Social. So Speaker Mike Johnson said it was the Democrats who were wildly inappropriate by suggesting that military members should disobey unlawful orders from the president. So his last post, most recent one, was seditious behavior punishable by death. And Johnson says, well, he was just defining the crime of sedition. That's a factual statement.
But the seditious behavior is not a capital offense. So,
well, he's calling them a traitor, right? And again, responding to someone who said just hang him because that's what George Washington would have done. You also have Republican Lindsey Graham, who's saying that he's deeply disturbed by the 6 Democrat members of Congress who put out a video telling people to disobey illegal orders. And he said, as far as I can tell, there's never been an illegal order issued during this administration. So there's some back and forth there, but one of the real huge issues with this is I think that there is the real possibility for this violence to escalate.
That's the problem you get when you call for the execution of certain members of a political party, Congress members, and you're saying these people should be executed, what message does that give to the Trump base?
So Senator Schumer went onto the went onto the floor of the Senate. This is on C-SPAN, and he just said this: the President of the United States is calling for the execution of elected officials. This is an outright threat. It's deadly serious. When Donald Trump uses the language of execution and treason, some of his supporters may very well listen. So we know that we've already had this year, we've had multiple instances of political violence, including the assassination of 2 Democratic lawmakers and also, one Democratic lawmaker and her husband, but also the wounding of another and his wife. But we also had Charlie Kirk out here, right, in Utah, who was targeted for his politics.
I look back on what the Democrats did in the first place, and they were inviting, not in any real way, but I mean, you know Trump's going to react this way. You know he's going to come off the wall, and I don't know that any of us expected he would call for their execution, but when you stand up like that and you take a position against the president, he's going to do something.
It's not only that, right? I mean, at some point, is there not a way to ratchet down this call? Like, even if you disagree with the video, they're not out there yelling at people. They're not saying, we can't believe you're not maintaining your oath to the Constitution. They're not saying that. They are concerned. And one of the Democrats who was on the video is former CIA herself, right? And she's like, I understand it can be really, really difficult, right? And we're, in fact, I have family members who've been in the military. They're talking about for some, right, the real despair that exists among some military members who are like, this is not what I signed up for, right? I don't want to be sent to some other state. This is National Guard. I don't want to be going to some other state to, use tear gas on people who are out expressing their opinion. But the fact
what you do swear to is uphold the Constitution.
That's right. You don't swear.
You take an oath to that.
You don't take an oath to the President of the United States or your commander in chief, who is the same thing, right? Or your local commander. It's to the U.S. Constitution, and so this escalation of rhetoric is just so concerning. I mean, sometimes I guess the response is you just toss it off and say, oh well, that's what he does, right? That's what he says, except that it could have real consequences.
Yeah, it could. And it follows up on another comment, and we've only got a minute or two here, that Trump made to a reporter. And I think yesterday was Journalist Day, but the day before he had an exchange with a journalist on Air Force One who was asking him some questions about Jeffrey Epstein. Let's listen to that. This was on Tuesday. The journalist was asking Trump questions about Epstein.
What did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when he said you knew about the girls?
I know nothing about that. They would have announced that a long time ago. It's really, what did he mean when he spent all the time with Bill Clinton, with the president of Harvard, who you know, that is Summers, Larry Summers, whatever his name is, and all of the other people that he spent time with. Jeffrey Epstein and I had a very bad relationship for many years. But he also saw a strike because I was president. So he dictated a couple of memos to himself. Give me a break. You're going to find out what did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard, with respect to all of those people that he knew, including J.P. Morgan Chase. Yeah, Jennifer, go ahead. Go ahead.
In the file, sir? Why not acting as a
quiet, Piggy.
On Venezuela, sir?
Quiet, Piggy.
So she was trying to follow up with her question, right? And he turns to her and says, quiet, Piggy. It just totally inappropriate, right? Just completely inappropriate. It's not the first time. It's happened multiple times in the last number of months, especially to female reporters. But it's, there's as offensive as that is, it's even many times worse, in my opinion, to start calling for the execution of your political opponents, people you disagree with.
And then the White House and even Speaker Johnson defends these. I mean, I don't know. Why do you have to take that position as well? You should move on. Hey, we don't necessarily join in these comments. Maybe he should ratchet it back. But saying, well, she was being unprofessional and inappropriate, and so basically giving life to the comments, making it seem like they were appropriate in any way, and they're not.
They're not. And, and like we mentioned, Speaker Johnson has already taken President Trump's side on these calls for executing lawmakers.
When we come back, we'll talk to our own House Speaker, Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz, joining us to talk about Utah's redistricting fight and what's on the top of the mind as he prepares for the 2026 legislative session. Stay with us.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. A Pleasant Grove High School student was hit by a truck this morning while she was crossing in the crosswalk right in front of the school.
Unconscious at the scene, and she was transported to Primary Children.
Pleasant Grove Police Lieutenant Derek Shumway says the driver was cooperating with the investigation, and early tests did not show any signs of impairment. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Congressional Democrats say President Trump has gone too far in his response to a video they made addressing U.S. troops.
Americans trust their military.
The video has 6 congressional Democrats warning U.S. troops and intelligence officers that the administration is pitting them against Americans.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
In response, President Trump has posted the remarks amount to seditious behavior punishable by death. Now Democratic leaders urge Trump to, quote, recant his violent rhetoric before he gets someone killed. The leaders say they've contacted U.S. Capitol Police to ensure the members' safety. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 151 points. The S&P is down 36. And coming up, scattered showers. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Hi, this is Doug Ryden. For years, I've been telling you about products I truly believe in and that we use in our home. And one is Kinetico. We all know the downsides of hard water, tough on home appliances, frustrating spots on shower doors, but it also affects your personality. When you shower, does the water feel invigorating? Hard water can leave your skin feeling sticky and itchy. A Kinetico soft water system changes everything. It's like having a luxurious spa experience when you shower, making your daily routine something you look forward to. Kinetico, it's a difference you can feel. Their patented system uses far less salt than competitors, and they're exclusively focused on water softeners. They're the experts in their field, and they'll show you the difference for free with no obligation to buy. Call Kinetico Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer, at 801-576-8600, or check them out online at softwaterutah.com. Start enjoying your water. Spoil yourself every day.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Imagine all that could happen in 5 years. Jobs may change, kids grow, new memes will come out. But also, what if you had reliable, intelligent Wi-Fi and the price didn't change for 5 years? Thanks to the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee, you actually don't have to worry about that part of your future. You're guaranteed 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to your devices that need the most, finds and fixes any issues before you even notice them. It's like a super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected from threats online. Plus, you get incredible gaming speeds on multiple devices with no one battling for bandwidth. For the next 5 years, all your devices will be working in perfect harmony, and you get their best equipment with no annual contracts, no fees, no strings. So even though your kids will grow up and you still won't understand 6-7, your internet will stay sharp, reliable, and most important, the price will stay put. All with the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Select plans only.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Visa Triple Rewards. Here's Ricky Meese.
Traffic looks good. No problems there. We've had an accident called out on Highland Drive at about 40th, 4100 South, and Highland in this stretch of the valley is about 1600 East, and the final cleanup of a crash 20th South, 9th East. When you take UTA, you can do just about anything while you ride. You won't even notice all the traffic you're missing. Plan your trip at rideuta.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 52 with isolated showers heading into the evening tomorrow. We'll see clouds and a high of 49. The sun comes back out a bit more by Saturday. Right now 46 and mostly cloudy. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
One thing that's been in the news a lot lately, and this month especially, is Utah's new congressional map. So the legislature submitted a map to Judge Gibson. She had until November 10th to respond, and at 11:41 p.m. on November 10th, she released her decision. It was a 91-page decision where she rejected the map that the legislature submitted, chose one of the maps submitted by the plaintiffs, and then there has been all kinds of response from that. Including just this morning, Congressman Burgess Owens released an open letter to Judge Diana Gibson that said, in part, history will remember this as the moment when one judge tried to remake Utah according to her own vision. Well, we have with us on the line that House Speaker Mike Schultz to talk to us about this redistricting stuff. Welcome, Mr. Speaker.
Hey, Holly, Greg, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
So tell us from your perspective as the leader of the Utah House, what do you make of this decision coming out at basically the last minute on November 10th? And is the legislature or your attorneys, are they planning on appealing this decision?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to appeal, and it is super disheartening the fact that it was drawn out until the very last minute. And by drawing it out to the very last minute, the unfortunate part is the judge took away the opportunity for the legislature to make an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court. And I just want your listeners to think about what that means for just a minute. By dragging it out to the very last minute, she took away the opportunity, this judge took away the opportunity for the voice of the people to be heard in front of the Supreme Court. And that's what's so disheartening. And one of the things that's so disheartening in this process is because the deadline came and went from the Lieutenant Governor's office in order to get a map adopted, in order to meet the 2026 election cycle, which, by the way, starts right at the 1st of January. But let me just come back real quick and hit on why this is so important. If you read Article 9, it is very clear that the legislative and the redistricting process is vested inside of the people through the legislative branch. And so that's what this all hinges on. And what you had one unelected judge make the decision for 3.5 million people of the state of Utah, over top of the elected 104 lawmakers, the representatives of the people. Over top of that, that is not democracy. And this judge picked a map drawn by a far-left organization, national organization, with out-of-state money, without Washington, D.C. attorneys. This map that was picked had no public comment, and that is just and did not go through a process. And that's why you're seeing so many Utahns upset with this decision.
So, Mike, is there an appeal that can and will be taken with respect to this particular order that might change how the ballot looks in 2026?
No, and that's what's so frustrating. Why
Okay.
you're seeing so many people upset is because she drew it out right until the very last minute, 19 minutes before the deadline on November 10th. And that's why you're seeing people, really upset, because we believe, now I can look back and say, I think this was structured intentionally, but either way, there was plenty of time for the ruling to come out well before this, and we believe the judge had a fiduciary responsibility to issue it in time in order for us to be able to exhaust our court processes, in order for there to be enough time for us to go before the Supreme Court for the 2026 election.
So it sounds like these maps will then stay for 2026, but will an appeal process happen for potentially 28 and 30?
Yes, it absolutely will. And let me just hit on another point too. What this map does. This map creates extremely Republican districts and extremely blue district. And one of the big problems with politics today is the extremes, whether it's the extreme on the far right or the extreme on the far left. That's what's creating a lot of the discourse that's happening in our country and here in Utah, for that matter. And this just it increases that, because when you have a Republican district that's R plus 40 something, and you have the Democrat district that's R plus 24, you're going to get more extreme people elected, and that's not what Utah needs. That's not good for Utah, and that's not good for our country. And so that's again another problem with this current map.
So what does the House do, Mike? Initiate new legislation to try to make sure that that we're in a different map situation in 2028, or appeal this, or both?
Yeah, we're going to be doing all of it. We're going to appeal it. We're going to, try to fix it. But the thing that's scary is the precedence this sets by the courts, because this precedence goes well beyond just redistricting. And so really the only way to fix this is through a constitutional amendment in the November 2026 ballot. We're going to be working on that, and we'll see what that looks like. But ultimately, it'll be the voters that make the final decision on this.
Can I ask you a question about the threats that the judge has received?
Yeah.
Do you have comments about that?
I do. Political violence of any sort, political threats of any sort is not right. As one that's received a lot of threats over the years, I can understand how this judge feels. It's not right. I can disagree wholeheartedly with the decision that this judge made, but any sorts of political threats, regardless whether it's towards an elected official or a judge or anybody for that matter, is wrong, and we fully condemn what's happened there.
Can I also ask you about efforts to impeach this judge?
It's not even anything that we're really focused on right now. I think that discussion may come at a later point. But our focus right now is how do we serve the people best right now in regards to getting the voice of the people back, and placing it with their elected representatives, not one judge who is not elected, who is appointed, that is not held accountable by the citizens of the state. That's our number one focus right now.
And with respect to your focus, Mr. Speaker, can you tell our listeners what came out of the interim session? I don't know if there's even one still going today, that they might be interested in as it relates to the upcoming general session in January?
Yeah, I think you'll see. There'll be quite a few things come forward in ways to address this, and again, get that voice and get that placed back inside of the people, inside of their elected representatives. We think that's paramount. That's number one, most important. Again, the precedence that this set goes well beyond just a map that's drawn. Certainly, that's the issue of the day. But if you have one unelected judge, and even a Supreme Court, 5 unelected judges making these types of decisions for all 3.5 million people over the top of the people that are elected to make these decisions, that's not good for the citizens of the state, and that's not good for the people. So we'll be looking to find ways to fix this.
Is there any other big issue on your mind as you head into 2026?
Yeah, there is. Cost of living. Cost of living right now, Utahns are feeling it like you would not believe. We've talked about this before, I believe, with gas prices. That's going to be one of the things that we focus on. Of course, we're focused on all energy prices, but reducing the cost for the citizens of the state, the cost of living is going to be a top priority. This year, we'd love to find a way to get gas prices in the state of Utah reduced by 20 to 30 cents. Right now, Utahns are paying almost 30 cents higher than the national average for gasoline. That's not right. Those are going to be things that are going to be top of mind, is cost of living and how do we reduce the cost of living or stop it from increasing in a way for the citizens. That's going to be top of mind.
Thank you so much for joining us again. That was Utah Speaker of the House Mike Schultz talking about both redistricting and priorities coming up in the Utah legislative session that begins, it feels like, just around the corner.
And he's always
in January.
very accommodating to the show.
He's a good friend of the show.
He very much is.
So we're continuing to highlight acts of service during our KSL Kindness campaign this week, and one Utah chef is relaunching the Burrito Project. It's a project he started after experiencing homelessness himself. He joins us to tell us more about it next.
When there is a will, there's always a way, and so I decided that I wanted to restart the project. And in this case, I wanted to get more people involved.
Stay with us.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions and bring you a special Black Friday offer.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio. And now, as a special Black Friday offer, you can get a free gutter inspection, plus up to 35% off. This is our best offer of the season. Unlock it now at leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Utah can count on.
Progressive presents a testimonial of sorts.
Hey, slow down!
Oh, yeah? Well, you drive like my grandma. She's a very attentive and courteous driver who wears a seatbelt and always uses her turn signals. And she's also a talented painter and has very low cholesterol. Not that that has anything to do with her drive. We just thought a more complete picture of who she is might be interesting. Anyway, have a nice day.
Safe driver? Get Snapshot from Progressive and get a personalized rate based on how you drive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Most folks wait till January to say, I should probably fix this or do something about how you feel. But you know what? You're going to go into 2026 with the resolution already done because soda helps you lose the weight now, so your New Year's all celebration.
You and I both started our soda weight loss journey in October and November, right? And I loved going into holiday parties knowing I had a plan. It wasn't just, I'm going to try not to. It was, this is my plan, because I've spoken with a nutritionist and I get a jump start on that, first of the year goal by beginning soda weight loss right now.
Yeah, there's no guesswork. You're supported every step of the way, and you need that. And right now, there's an amazing offer from Soda for you and your partner. You join, and your partner joins for free.
So why gain 20 pounds just to lose it in the new year? Go to Soda Weight Loss today and begin today.
That's sodaweightloss.com, SOTA weightloss.com, because soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. With combined decades of experience, Peterson Rogers Private Wealth helps clients navigate every part of their financial lives. Their disciplined, goal-focused approach has guided people confidently through both booming markets and challenging downturns. Founding partner Ben Rogers joins us with more.
At Peterson Rogers Private Wealth, we are dedicated to helping clients preserve and grow their wealth across generations, especially during times of market uncertainty. Rooted in the tradition of a true family office, yet distinguished in its approach to wealth management, we offer a bespoke suite of specialized services. This includes, but is not limited to, complex financial planning, proprietary capital markets research, a public equity strategy refined over decades, and exclusive private market opportunities. Additionally, for business owners, we provide specialized exit planning designed to enhance enterprise value and support seamless transitions. The objective of our holistic approach is to integrate every facet of a client's financial life, streamlining decision-making and advancing long-term goals. We are equally committed to giving back through our partnership with Cancier's Foundation, which funds and provides programmatic framework to medical institutions to ensure cancer patients have reliable transportation to and from critical chemotherapy and radiation treatments.
Peterson Rogers Private Wealth empowers Utah families and business owners to achieve stability and growth. Through guidance, planning, and community support, they strengthen local economies and create lasting opportunities. Learn more at petersonrogers.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Inside Sources.
We continue to highlight acts of service during our KSL Kindness campaign this week, powered by One Kind Act a Day, a project by the Semnani Family Foundation. Learn more about that at powerofkind.org. And today we're highlighting one Utah chef who is relaunching a project feeding hundreds of unsheltered Utahns multiple nights a week. 16 years ago, his project, which is called the Burrito Project, began. It was unfortunately shut down during COVID, but it's now relaunching.
And we have a guest on the line. It's Jorge Fierro, who is bringing back the Burrito Project using a food truck as a mobile kitchen. Welcome to our show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day. Great day.
Will you just describe for us what the Burrito Project even is?
Yes, it is. It is a project that it was formed by three different groups. Rico Brand was one of them, and that's where everything is executed. But what Burrito Project is all about, and this is a worldwide movement, and it's people gathering and sharing and preparing food for those who unfortunately are homeless or on the street. And so in this case, we make burritos. 16 years ago, we started making burritos with rice and beans, so it's protein. And we were able to do it as many as 4 days per week.
Wow. And what actually got you started in this, Jorge? What inspired you to do this back in the day?
Well, when I came to this country, this is 40 years ago. I did not know anybody, and I didn't speak any English. And so when I came to Utah, I landed at the rescue mission and at the men's shelter. But despite of the fact that I didn't speak any language, or English, I should say, and I didn't know anybody, I was pretty amazed of the fact that I was never hungry. I always find someone to feed me or to offer me food, and I was pretty impacted by it. And the second thing is that when I live at the shelter, I learned through a Puerto Rican guy that in Spanish explained to me that a pretty high percentage of the people in the streets are vets from different wars. And that was a heartbreaker. And that's when I thought, you know what, one day I'm going to do something about it. And so 16 years ago, every time that we fed burritos to someone in the street, for me, it was a way of telling vets from different wars, we love you, we see you, and feed them.
Wow. So you got started this week again. How's it been going so far?
You know what? We did it last night. It was great. Probably about 65 people showed up. So we were truly amazed. And the second thing, too, is that some other business owners that I know, friends of mine, decided to collaborate. And now last night we had potatoes and chicken burritos instead of rice and beans. So we are excited because we are going to offer better and more, but not only to unsheltered people. There are people out there who have a roof over their head and may have a job, but they cannot really put a lot of food on the table. And so we also want to reach out to people who, for one reason or another, have a hard time providing for their kids and their families.
And what about our listeners, Jorge, who are able to feed their families and who do have resources? How can they help you out?
Well, that's a great question. One of the things that I probably would suggest is for people to, through our social media, Rico brand, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, until we get things rolling on our own page for the Burrito Project SLC, they can reach out. They can see where we do it. I would like to invite people to come over and check it out. We will be doing it Mondays and Wednesdays starting this coming week. And then hopefully we have enough volunteers and enough resources to do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Usually people feed homeless on the weekends or on holidays, but we're rather doing it when nobody feeds them.
Thank you. So, Jorge, if people want to actually volunteer, is the best way to go to the Rico brand pages either on Facebook or Instagram, or is there a specific location physically that they should go?
Well, so the location is 940 West, 1st 100 South in Salt Lake City, Utah, 84104. That is the location. We're going to be doing it Mondays and Wednesdays at 4:30. So if someone wants to come over, it would be great. They can also reach me at jorge@ricobrand.com, and I will be more than happy to explain to them via email how it works and what resources we can have. And then also, eventually, we will have a sign-up sheet so people can, let us know what days they're coming. But for now, those are the two best ways. Either come to the location or email me at jorge@ricobrand.com.
And remind our listeners about last night. You had something like 65 people that you fed. And how did they learn about it? How did they know to show up?
Well, a lot of them are people who are linked to the Burrito Project SLC Facebook page. And then we also did let them know through our social media and my company, and that's how they showed up. But the good thing about it is that I wanted to bring as many people as possible to explain to them how the project works. Once they did, everybody made burritos, and a handful of people went and fed the homeless last night. We made 300 burritos and 300 cookies that Feelings and Emotions donated. Wow. But I was able to explain to them how it works, so that way, we don't need 30 or 40 or 50 volunteers Mondays and Wednesdays. We need people to let us know when they're coming, and we probably may need about between 20 and 30 people every day. And so once they start, either coming and we create the sign-up page, it would be easier to manage. But I mean, I was so delighted to see so many people that really want to help out there, and they can really, it's amazing. But according to how things are going in an economy, I think that people want to help even more nowadays, and that makes me very happy.
That is really great. I have one final question for you, Jorge, and that is, how long do you hope for this project to go? Is it just through the colder months, or do you hope to have this extend year-round?
It would be year-round. In fact, back in the days, we used to do it in bicycles in the summer, and so we will be able to do it in bicycles this coming summer. But this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life.
Jorge Fierro, you are a treasure to our community, and thank you for joining us. That was really fun, Holly. I mean, the burrito project.
Kindness.
Yeah, talk about act of kindness. 300 burritos yesterday. I got hungry thinking about it.
It really is great, and it's great that we give people. I think that there's a number of opportunities for people to be able to give back to our community. That really is great. I do have one or two fun facts for you today, by the way.
Good.
Today is Universal Children's Day. So, the kids always ask me, when there's Mother's Day and Father's Day, when is Kids Day? Well, I guess today is the day, so now they have their answer.
Give me a break, kids. The rest of the year is your
That's right.
your day.
It was actually on this day in 1959 that the UN adopted the Universal Declaration of Children's Rights, which is why we have that.
That's fun.
It's also Joe Biden's birthday, and he spent his birthday today at the funeral of former Vice President Dick Cheney. So we saw him. He's 83 today, and Dick Cheney was only a year older than former President Biden.
Oh, 83?
He's 83
Oh.
today, and he rang the bell for finishing his radiation treatment for his cancer. So
good for him. I was almost hoping he might speak. Of course, he's a Democrat, and maybe I don't know how well he knew Cheney, but it was nice to see him and Vice President Pence up on the, up on front and center. Well, it's time now to turn it over to Midday with Maria Chalet.